Chapter 876. Although the power of the sacred lotus sword heart is strong, how could a true expert allow you to unleash so many sword strikes? But if you learn formless and simplify the moves without reducing the power of the moves, the effect will be different. To achieve formless, you need to control the spiritual energy in your body so that it doesn't leak out with a single move. When you're proficient, you can even control the damage of your skills. Take your sacred lotus sword heart for example. The power of each strike is the same, but if you learn formless, you can use one strike as a feint, and the power of that strike will be transferred to the next strike. You can even combine several strikes into one to create a killing move. Of course, it's very difficult to achieve this. Unless you know spiritual energy refinement, it's impossible. While the Heaven Splitter artifact spirit was explaining, Lu Chen, who had been deep in thought, suddenly used the sacred lotus sword heart. This time, he didn't use more than 2,000 swords at once. Instead, he used them together with his movement. At a suitable pause, he casually unleashed dozens of sword chi. When the Heaven Splitter artifact spirit saw this, he was surprised. He only explained it once, and that guy already used it? Suddenly, after 9 steps in the air, Lu Chen combined the remaining 1,000 swords into one and blasted it towards the mountain in the distance. A huge sword chi swept across like a ray of light, and the mountain peak in the distance was directly flattened. Rumble! The artifact spirit could only watch helplessly as the peak of the mountain slid down. Lu Chen walked to the artifact spirit's side and asked, "Is it like this? I feel that the power is indeed stronger than before." The artifact spirit slowly turned his head. You know spiritual energy refinement? A little. He almost spat out a mouthful of old blood. This guy actually knew spiritual energy refinement at such a low level. This wasn't the main point. The main point was that if he didn't use spiritual energy refinement to an extremely adept level, he wouldn't be able to grasp formless so quickly. If this was called a little, then he wouldn't be far from breaking through to the next level. This guy was definitely here to cause trouble. Cough cough. Looks like your perception is barely passable. That, since you've already grasped formless, you should practice more in the future and completely integrate formless into your fighting style. The higher the level of the heaven domain, the smaller the range of the skill. You might not even be able to see the complete skill in the future. Of course, the prerequisite is that you have a future. I said that I would give you an opportunity, but I didn't expect you to comprehend it on your own. How about this? I see that you're missing an arm now, so you can't use many skills, right? I'll give you a set of sword techniques. From now on, you can cultivate here. No matter what you comprehend, it will be better here than outside. Lu Chen widened his eyes and waited for the man to give him the scroll. Unexpectedly, the man disappeared in a flash. Damn it! You stood me up. I've never seen anyone with thicker skin than you, Lu Chen said in shock. Just as he finished speaking, the shrunken Heaven Splitter sword on the ground suddenly pulled itself out of the ground. Then, the Heaven Splitter sword began to dance. Sometimes, the sword moved like a dragon and a phoenix, flowing like water. Sometimes, it would explode with energy and the sword chi would soar into the sky. No way. Don't tell me I'll learn it after seeing it once, Lu Chen exclaimed. He tried his best to memorize the sword move. Unfortunately, he didn't have the ability to remember everything he saw. Damn it! My opportunity! You've overestimated me. After the sword moves were demonstrated, Lu Chen's heart was already dead. The Heaven Splitter sword was demonstrated once from beginning to end. Now, he only remembered the ending movement. I'm really speechless. Sigh. Learned sword god level sword technique Heaven Splitter, I learned it? Lu Chen was pleasantly surprised. Kid, Heaven Splitter has already been imparted to you. Comprehend it well here. You must integrate formless into Heaven Splitter to display its power. Wuji, I didn't expect your master to use you. Use Heaven Splitter. Let me ask you, are you angry? Ha 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 ha. The voice finally disappeared. Lu Chen looked at the Wuji sword in his hand and suddenly understood why the Wuji sword trusted this old rival. So, this old rival of yours is actually a joker? Lu Chen frowned slightly. That guy really doesn't have a brain. I didn't beat him back then mainly because his master was too strong. Boss, don't bother with him. You'd better hurry up and cultivate. The heavenly god environment is an extremely rare place to cultivate. The surrounding spirit chi will transform into whatever you want according to your needs. For example, if you want to cultivate spirit power, you can imagine the surroundings as the bottom of the heavenly lake. This place can transform into the heavenly lake spirit vein. You can increase your spirit power here. Other spirit veins are the same or other battle environments. So magical. No wonder he said cultivating here is much better than cultivating outside. Time was of the essence. Lu Chen couldn't care so much and immediately seized the time to cultivate. However, unexpectedly, the first thing Lu Chen cultivated was not spirit power, formless or heaven splitter, but the world that heavenly star brought him to. After returning to the initial stage of the world, Lu Chen added the dual polarity yin-yang beads illusion. Heaven's Eye, Chaos Spiritual Pill, Spiritual Chi Subtlety, Divine Demon Symbiosis, Selfless. After Lu Chen entered this state, he was like a rock, motionless. The limitless fiend god sword would not interfere with its master's cultivation, nor would it disturb Lu Chen. Lu Chen blended into this world and began his cultivation. 1 month later, today was an important day for the 7 countries. The East Mountain Ice God finally came out of seclusion. The 7 ancient gods were reunited, and the 7 terminal heavenly mandate formation could finally see the light of day again. In view of the increasing intensity of the war, the rulers of the 7 countries and the 7 ancient gods all headed to the great desolate East country located in the middle of the 5th heavenly layer to discuss countermeasures. Even during wartime, the 7 ancient gods' emergence was of utmost importance. In the great desolate East country's capital square, hundreds of thousands of people were eagerly waiting, looking at the towering star-plucking stage in front of them. The 7 super experts would appear there at that time. The 7 ancient gods have finally emerged. We are saved now. The ancient war god is definitely a peak existence in the 5th heavenly layer today. It is said that the new ice god's strength is extremely terrifying. He is already qualified to be on equal footing with the other 6 ancient gods. He has achieved meteoric success in 1 day. At the end of the square, there was a large group of aborigines who were responsible for building the star-plucking stage. They were also looking in the direction of the star-plucking stage. One of them secretly took out a wooden tablet. The words, Origin Divine Token, were written on the wooden tablet. However, the Origin Divine Token that used to be faintly glowing had become an ordinary wooden tablet. That person looked at the token with heartache and sighed. The 7 ancient gods have been reborn? What's the use? You are the one who defeated the supreme demon beast. You are the strongest war god. They have been reborn, but you have fallen. We aborigines will never see hope again. Chapter 877. Luo Yao and the other 6 monarchs looked up at the star-plucking platform. The 7 war gods had all arrived at the star-plucking platform. Baishur Nation's Lion King, Penglai Nation's Sea God, Yugui Nation's Yugui, Buzhou Nation's Shinshan, Western Nation's Holy Mother, and Dongyue Nation's Luo Chen, the new Dongyue Ice God. When the 7 appeared at the same time, the hundreds of thousands of people below the platform erupted. Are these the 7 ancient gods? Peak 5th heavenly layer experts. With the 7 gods here, we may not lose. 7 ancient gods, please lead us against the demonic beast army. The return of the 7 gods, we are invincible. The 7 gods stood on the star-plucking platform, looking down at the people below. Their eyes shone brightly as they raised their weapons and shouted in unison, "By the will of the heavens, we exterminate the demonic beasts." With a boom, everyone shouted themselves hoarse. The 7 gods shouted in unison, "Exterminate the demonic beasts." Everyone's passion was reignited by the 7 gods. Luo Yao took a deep breath. She also felt the encouragement of the 7 gods. She looked at East Peak Heavenly Master beside her. "Heavenly Master, did your prophecy foretell the return of the 7 gods? Can't they be the ones to solve the unsolvable hexagram?" The Heavenly Master frowned, replying to Jade Empress, "I didn't think that all 7 gods would be reborn. I can't estimate the strength of the 7 gods. Among the 5th heavenly layers, only Ghoul Sek's Heavenly Master and Living Buddha can see the fates of the 7 gods." Luo Yao said indifferently, "Ghoul Sek's Heavenly Master divined the fall of Ice God and the succession of a new god, but he didn't know if the 7 gods could break the deadlock. As for Living Buddha, that guy has been missing for a long time." Everything was still a mystery. But a mystery was better than a deadlock. Luo Chen's junior sister looked at the familiar yet unfamiliar figure on the platform. She turned to her senior brother and master and said, "I didn't think that eldest senior brother would be worshipped by all races one day. How awe-inspiring." Bo Fan smiled faintly. No matter what, Luo Chen was once his disciple. Seeing him rule the world was also his pride. Luo Kong was a bit disdainful. "What's the use of ruling the world? Don't you think he's changed a lot? It's like he doesn't recognize us." Bo Fan shouted at his disciple, "Miss, your senior martial brother is shouldering the heavy responsibility of breaking through the heavenly tribulation. You have to understand." Luo Kong still wanted to say something, but seeing that his master was angry, he could only swallow his complaints. In the distance, a middle-aged man with a face scarf and a long robe with a hood was carrying a person on his back. His side was facing the star-plucking platform, so both of them could see what was happening on the platform. The person behind him was also wrapped up tightly, but judging from the figure, it was definitely not a baby. Instead, it was a burly adult. The man slightly lifted the edge of the hood that was blocking his view. Lu Chen's face was full of acne. His face had already festered beyond recognition. Only his eyes were exceptionally bright. At this moment, he was staring blankly at the scene on the star-plucking platform. The middle-aged man carefully said, "Senior Living Buddha, it's about time. You still need to use the 9 mysterious locks to prolong your life." This person was Wu Bang City's city lord Xianzhen. And the person on his back was the number 1 oracle of the 5th heaven who had been missing for 2 years, Living Buddha. Of course, he also had another identity. He was the new ice god, Luo Chen's master. He had passed on his knowledge to Luo Chen, opening up a terrifying path for him to become stronger. "I've finally become the ice god." Living Buddha's voice was exceptionally weak, but there was uncontrollable excitement in it. Even the divination is starting to become blurry. From the original unsolvable to the current blurry, it was definitely a huge change. Xianzhen hurriedly asked, "Senior Living Buddha, is this heavenly tribulation saved?" "That's great, your hard work was not in vain." "It's still too early to say, but it's just not the same as before. There are no changes." Xianzhen nodded heavily. It was already good to have this kind of improvement, but he couldn't be too greedy. "It's just that Luo Chen, that child, seems to be getting more and more arbitrary. No matter, as long as this heavenly tribulation can be resolved, my mission is complete. Whether Lu Chen recognizes me as his master or what kind of person he becomes, I don't care." "Xianzhen, do you still remember the 2 people you recommended to me in the end when you held the spouse selection tournament?" Xianzhen nodded. "I remember, one is Luo Chen, the other is Solipsistic. Senior, you chose Luo Chen, and now it seems that you didn't make the wrong choice." Living Buddha nodded. "That's right, I also performed divination for the 2 of them. What's interesting is that I divined Solipsistic's real name, Lu Chen, "En? This name is very common?" Xianzhen asked, puzzled. Living Buddha forced a smile. Luochen, don't you think it's very similar? Xianzhen took a deep breath and repeated it a few more times. These two people's names were really very similar. Yes, the names are so similar, but they have the same name but different fates. One can conquer the world, the other is surrounded by ominous stars and will definitely fall in the middle. Xianzhen nodded thoughtfully. Indeed, since 10 months ago, after my people found out that Solipsistic appeared at the border of Dongyu country, there hasn't been any news of Solipsistic. With his character, I think there's an 80% chance that he's fallen if he doesn't stir up some trouble wherever he goes. It doesn't matter whether he's fallen or not. In the future, the fifth heaven will be Luochen's stage. Whether or not he can break through the heavenly tribulation will depend on Luochen. Alright, bring me back. I hope I can live for a few more days and see what the future of the fifth heaven will be like. With the arrival of the 7 gods, the 7 countries seemed to have found their backbone. They won several battles one after another. Of course, everyone didn't get carried away by the victories of several battles. After that, the 7 countries officially formed an alliance. The defense forces of each country shrank towards the direction of Rhubarb and the other 4 countries, preparing for an even larger magical beast army. After the arrival of the 7 gods and the continuous small-scale victories, the morale of the immortal cultivator army was unprecedentedly high, and the reputation of the 7 gods was growing by the day. However, behind this scene, there were some things that were unknown to the public. Due to the shrinking of the battlefront, 6 of the 7 countries began to abandon the indigenous people on a large scale. They took back some of the city's defensive magic treasures, removed the city defense array, took away the food and moved the entire city, but left behind the indigenous people who had built the fortifications. Only Luo Yao insisted on bringing the indigenous people. Her actions were puzzling. Even though she was the monarch of Dongyu country, she was still under great pressure. Under such circumstances, countless indigenous people became vengeful spirits in the mouths of the magical beast army. Among the indigenous people, another piece of news began to circulate. The origin god token had all lost its effect. Even the last hope left by the origin god had disappeared. As weak as they were, there was no way for them to survive the great war of gods and demons. The immortal cultivators were actively preparing for war, but the indigenous people were already in despair. Luo Yao stood on the city wall and looked at the scattered indigenous people living outside the city. These indigenous people had been abandoned by the White Lion country, but in order to survive, they could only migrate with the defending army and settle down outside the city. There, people were still working hard. The innocent children were dressed in rags, but they were still playing happily. It was as if in their world, happiness was so simple. This wasn't the territory of Dongyu country. Even the Jade Emperor had no right to criticize the policies of other countries. Luo Yao's eyes were slightly wet. I'm sorry. I've been trying my best to persevere, but I still can't take everyone with me. If you were still alive, would you be angry with me? Chapter 878. 3 months later, the magical beast army launched their first large-scale attack from the west side of the White Lion Nation. An army of 700,000 magical beasts formed a long battle formation on the plains. At a glance, they were densely packed, striking fear into one's heart. The magical beast army was personally led by the Black Qilin. They had a huge presence and were pointing their swords at the defense of the 7 nations, Lion Tiger City. The 7 nations had already received the news and immediately mobilized their troops, gathering an army of 2 million cultivators in Lion Tiger City. At the same time, the spell formation masters worked day and night to strengthen the defensive spell formation. Among the 7 deities, the Ice God, Lion King, and Yu Gui, the 3 great war gods, led their troops to battle. The battle was imminent. The magical beast army destroyed the various traps in front of the city at a very small cost. Then, the magical beast army swarmed toward Lion-Tiger City. The three great war gods charged out of the city, and millions of deities and demons fought to the death. The battle lasted for 5 days and 5 nights. The 7 nations continuously mobilized large numbers of cultivators to make up for the depleted defenders. In the end, the number of defenders who participated in the battle reached 7 million. At the cost of 7 million deaths, the defenders killed 500,000 enemies and almost wiped out the entire magical beast army. They successfully defended Lion-Tiger City in this battle. The death ratio of both sides decreased from the initial 1 to 8 deaths to the current 1 to 5 deaths. The losses were greatly reduced. A general was leading people to clean up the battlefield. The corpses of these magical beasts could be used to strengthen equipment and increase one's strength. They could not miss this opportunity. However, while a banquet was being held at the rear to celebrate the victory, he discovered a problem. The casualties of the magical beast army were all 5th transformation magical beasts and below. There were only less than 50,000 high-level magical beasts. The strength of a 6th transformation magical beast was comparable to a few 5th transformation magical beasts. Actually, the losses of the magical beast army were not as serious as imagined. On the other hand, the 7 million casualties of the defenders were almost all great cultivators and above. Many of them were even earth cultivators. One must know that great cultivators and earth cultivators were already considered quite powerful in the 7 nations. There were hundreds of millions of defenders, but half of them were cultivators and great cultivators. In this way, the victory of this battle was not so perfect. Less than 5 days after the Battle of Lion-Tiger City, the magical beast army attacked again. This time, the magical beast army's numbers increased to 3 million. After receiving this news, the defenders hurriedly mobilized troops. There were a total of 20 million defenders. He vowed to guard Lion-Tiger City. But at this moment, news suddenly came from the Arctic nation of the Great Wilderness. An army of 5 million magical beasts suddenly appeared from the Polar Sea and launched a surprise attack on the gateway city of the Arctic nation, Aurora City. As the magical beasts were traveling by water this time, it was almost impossible to predict in advance. The 7 countries also needed time to mobilize their troops. In a hurry, they could only gather 15 million troops. Currently, both sides were engaged in battle, and the death ratio was at least 1:5. However, Aurora City's defenders only had 3 times the enemy's number. The situation instantly became urgent. The 7 kingdoms hastily deployed their troops to support, hoping that the Aurora City's defenders could hold on for a few more days. However, even if Aurora City defended the city to the death, the magical beast army had the 2 great heavenly kings, Shur-Kun and Torch Dragon, overseeing it. More than half of the 5 million magical beasts were powerful magical beasts of the 5th transformation and above. Their strength was far greater than before. The magical beast army's attack was extremely ferocious. They wanted to take down Aurora City at all costs. Defend. Even if we die, we must defend Aurora City. The northern pole King Guotai angrily glared as he stood on top of the city wall. If Aurora City is breached, the demon beasts will be able to travel hundreds of miles south, deep into the hinterlands of the 4 countries of the Great Wilderness. King Guotai, the enemy seems to have gone mad. We can't hold on for much longer. It's hard to hold on without using soul-body unification. When will the reinforcements arrive? If they don't arrive soon, we won't have anyone to replace them with. Where are the 7 deities? Why didn't the 7 deities come when we have so many magical beasts here? King Guotai's eyes were about to split open. Reinforcements? The reinforcements would take at least 1 more day to arrive. However, in the face of such a ferocious attack, how could they have the time to wait for reinforcements? Aurora City was suddenly attacked without any warning. causing even the 7 deities to be unable to make it in time. Now, they could only rely on themselves to hold on. At this moment, a huge magical beast with a human face and a dragon body soared into the sky from afar. It held a candle in its mouth, and the flame flickered. The heaven and earth seemed to be moving along with the flame, sometimes bright, sometimes dark. Not good, Torch Dragon is here. Don't look at the candle light. Close your eyes. Torch Dragon had already activated its skill. Illumination of the sun and moon. In the midst of a life and death battle, not everyone had heavenly vision and spiritual energy refinement. How could most people close their eyes at this moment? Suddenly, the flame of the candle in Torch Dragon's mouth lit up, and the heaven and earth seemed to be illuminated by a strong light. A few cities hundreds of miles away from Aurora City could see a corner of the sky suddenly shining brightly. Under the strong light, countless people's eyes were directly blinded. My eyes can't see. The spiritual energy is in chaos, and the skill can't be used. This is blinding and confusion. At this moment, someone heard a low voice. 1,000-year corpse poison. Corpse poison, someone come and help me detoxify. I've been poisoned. It's Corpse Kuan. It took advantage of Torch Dragon's illumination of the sun and moon to activate it. At this moment, the apothecary couldn't even protect himself, so how could he detoxify so many people? King Tai himself was still fine as he had heavenly God's eye and avoided the illumination of the sun and moon. However, when he opened his eyes, in just a few seconds, hundreds of thousands of people had been slaughtered. A moment later, these hundreds of thousands of people's bodies rapidly turned purplish-black. They died but didn't stiffen, and their bodies stood up again in a strange state. However, after standing up, they turned around and attacked the defenders. It's corpse poison. Not good, the Great City Barrier Formation can't stop these resurrected corpses. The addition of the corpses quickly made the battlefield even more chaotic. A moment ago, they were teammates, but the moment they died, they quickly became enemies. Moreover, the Great City Barrier Formation couldn't stop these resurrected corpses at all. They directly charged into the formation and madly slaughtered the Talisman Masters maintaining the Great City Barrier Formation. The Magical Beast Army originally had low-level magical beasts as the vanguard, but now they had turned into corpses. The defenders' line of defense almost collapsed at the first touch. King Tai stood on the city wall and watched as the number of defenders decreased and the number of corpses increased. Behind the corpses, there was also the Magical Beast Army. Corpse Kuan and Torch Dragon were waiting for an opportunity to move. It was as if he could already see that the situation was over. The 4 heavenly kings of the Magical Beast Army. Their strength is actually so terrifying, killing hundreds of thousands of people in an instant. King Tai said faintly. Aurora City couldn't be saved. Generals, listen to my command. If the city lives, we live. If the city dies, we die. After leaving this sentence, King Tai moved and killed his way into the enemy's formation. In just a short month, after taking down Aurora City, the magical beasts moved from the north to the south. The army was unstoppable and broke through several important cities. The 7 nations had no choice but to shrink their defense line again. East Peak Nation, East Pole Nation, West Kingdom to the north, Penglai Nation to the northeast, Yumo Nation to the northwest, Buzhou Nation to the northwest, and Baishur Nation to the west. They formed a small defensive circle. Chapter 879. The imperial city of Dongyue Nation had become the base of the 7-Nation Alliance. In the Dongyue Palace, the monarchs of the 7 nations, the heavenly masters, and the 7 ancient gods were gathered. The demonic beast army this time is even more terrifying than the first great divine demon war. Yu Gui frowned. I think the current defensive line is still too big. We need to continue shrinking it to allow for more reinforcements. The divine mountain said, The 4 heavenly kings of the demonic beasts are indeed stronger than before. More importantly, that guy hasn't appeared yet. At the mention of that guy, the palace fell silent. Demonic beast sovereign. He still hadn't appeared. However, the demonic beast army was already forcing the defenders to retreat. UMO couldn't help but say, 7 gods, where's your 7-terminal formation? We've already lost tens of millions of soldiers in a month. Luo Chen frowned and glanced at UMO. What? Are you doubting us? He's not doubting us. We've already lost time and time again. If we don't counterattack, we'll definitely lose this battle. Luo Yao said seriously. The ice goddess snorted. The 7-terminal formation is powerful. Do you know why demonic beast sovereign doesn't dare to appear? It's because he's afraid of our 7-terminal formation. We can only use it once in a short period of time. If we use it early, who'll deal with demonic beast sovereign when he appears? Give the order to shrink the defensive line immediately. Luo Yao stood up and said angrily, What about the natives? The 7 gods all turned to Luo Chen. The Lion King snorted. Jade Empress, did I hear wrong? The war is tense now and you're still talking about the natives? Just throw those animals away. Why bother asking? They're not animals. They're humans. Luo Yao said angrily. The Lion King stood up angrily. Kong Luo Yao, watch your attitude when speaking to me. Don't think that a mere monarch like you can be so impudent in front of me. They're humans? What kind of joke is this? If you persist, the 7-nation alliance won't mind having one less burden. Luo Yao suddenly said. No one could leave the 7-nation alliance now. If Dongyue was kicked out of the alliance, the result would be obvious. Annihilation. The old emperor had handed the Dongyu nation over to her, so how could she let it perish? The East Peak Celestial Master tugged on Luo Yao's sleeve. Jade Empress, don't get into a conflict with the 7 gods. After weighing the pros and cons, Luo Yao could only suppress her anger and sit down. Falling Dust snorted coldly. Right now, only we, the 7 gods, can possibly save the 5th heaven. You actually have doubts about us? Then let me ask you, if you don't believe us, who do you believe? Original God? Didn't I tell you long ago that the original God has not been reborn? Even the will and consciousness he left behind has dissipated. During the first great war of gods and devils, it was the origin god who severely injured the devil-beast Paragon. Unfortunately, this time there was no origin god. I'll say it again. I don't want to repeat it again. Don't question the 7 gods. Even the monarchs of the 7 countries had to lower their heads in front of the 7 god. Finally, according to Underworld Ghost strategy, the defense line of the 7 nations shrunk again. With the defense line shrinking, the natives who were scattered outside had no one to rely on again. 2 months later, in the Eastern Peak Nation, a group of natives chased after the retreating soldiers with all their might. Unfortunately, how could they catch up with those cultivators with their speed? The demonic beast army's attacks were getting fiercer and fiercer. According to some immortals, the demonic beast army was about to launch an all-out attack. Now, the 7 nations had shrunk their defense line again and were on high alert. Even the Eastern Peak Nation, which had been trying its best to protect the natives, had no choice but to move quickly and obey orders. Even the Eastern Peak Nation could no longer protect the natives. Soon, the demonic beast army would catch up to them. Only death awaited them. A woman was holding a child in her arms and holding the hand of a slightly older one. She looked at the retreating soldiers in despair, tears falling uncontrollably. For the sake of her child, she had already moved from the 4 nations of the Great Wilderness to the Eastern Peak Nation. Originally, the Eastern Peak Nation would still take care of them and give them a chance to survive. But now, even the Eastern Peak Nation had abandoned them. Looking at the 2 children beside her, the woman's eyes were filled with tears. Finally, she said to the slightly older boy in a trembling voice, "Ergu, mother, Mother can't run anymore. Mother can't take you and Ho-Hot with her. She squatted down and stuffed a few dozen spirit stones into Ergu's hand. These are spirit stones. They are very valuable. If you can survive in the future, use these spirit stones to live a life of luxury. Don't let others see. Ergu, run quickly. You must follow those soldiers. If you follow them, you will have a chance to survive. Mother! Ergu cried. I won't go. I want to go with Mother and Ho-Hot. Go quickly. You have good stamina. You might be able to catch up to them alone. Survive as long as you can. No, Mother, Ho-Hot, go quickly. Suddenly, there was a rumbling sound behind them. The surrounding natives looked behind them in horror. There were already black shadows darting through the forest. The demonic beasts had arrived so quickly. There were cries of alarm as everyone ran for their lives. The woman was so anxious that she was sweating. Ergu, listen to Mother. Go quickly. No. With a smack, the woman hardened her heart and slapped Ergu's face. Are you trying to anger Mother to death? Mother is begging you. Go quickly. If you don't go, Mother will die in front of you. Ergu had no choice but to run away crying. After running for a while, he turned back to look until he saw a large group of demonic beasts rushing out of the forest. A two-headed tiger pounced on his mother and Ho-Hot. Mother! Sister! However, his mother's gaze was strangely calm. It was as if she had been freed at this moment. She hugged Ho-Hot quietly and gently tidied her hair. Ergu, let's go find your father now. Mother, what about brother? Him? Mother doesn't know whether it was right or wrong to leave him here alone. In a world without hope, what's the point of living? The demonic beasts attacked and rushed into the native. Instantly, blood flowed like a river. Ergu ran frantically. All his fear and grief turned into strength. Even when his body was numb and his energy was exhausted, he still could not catch up to the soldiers. However, he was too small a target. He was lucky enough to escape the pursuit of the demonic beast. Mother, Ho-Hot! Why can't they bring us along? Why didn't anyone come to save us? While crying, Ergu took out the Origin God token from his pocket. This token did not originally belong to him. He had only picked it up from the roadside after all the Origin God tokens lost their effect. After picking up this token, he had treated it as a treasure and carried it with him. At this moment, he held the Origin God token tightly and roared at the token. Origin God! Origin God! Where are you? They all say that you are our hope, our God, but did you see it? If you saw it, why didn't you come to save us? In a fit of rage, Buttface broke the decaying wooden tablet. With a crack, the token in Lu Chen's backpack cracked. This sound also woke Lu Chen up. He slowly opened his eyes. The world was chaotic. The stars around him flickered, alternating between light and darkness. Lu Chen stood up. Using his finger as a sword, he swept it at a star. In an instant, the star that could not be hit no matter what was done was split into two. Taking a deep breath and slowly exhaling, Lu Chen said softly, "Half a year is finally up." Chapter 880. After coming out of the divine illusion, Lu Chen turned back to look at the collapsed divine tomb. The heaven-splitting sword was still standing. In the near future, this would become the fifth spirit vein of the fifth heaven, the heaven-splitting spirit vein. At this point, the heavenly pool, origin crystal, heavenly star, and heaven-splitting spirit veins had all been opened. Lu Chen's mission, restart the fifth heaven, was also completed. A map appeared in Lu Chen's backpack. It seemed to be an unexplored spirit stone mine. However, Lu Chen didn't look at the map carefully. He closed his backpack and walked out of the mountain. Little Beast God didn't grow very fast in the past 6 months. Maybe it was because he had finished eating the fragments of the origin crystal. He now looked like a 7 or 8-year-old boy. Little Beast, Little Furball, Rhubarb, let's go! Lu Chen called out lightly. The three of them followed Lu Chen's footstep. North of the Dongyu Kingdom, the northern plains, the magical beast army was pressing in on the boundless plains. At a glance, the magical beast army's troops were everywhere. After nearly a year of probing and attacking, the magical beast army's troops had been defeated. The magical beast army had pushed the immortal cultivator army to the last line of defense in front of the Alliance headquarters. The 7 magical beast generals and the 4 heavenly kings were all in the formation. On the other side, the immortal cultivators of various races had already formed a battle formation on the south side of the plains. However, half a year ago, the immortal cultivator army was much more numerous than the magical beast army. Now, they were not much more numerous than the magical beast army. The 7 ancient gods stood at the forefront of the battle formation. Damn it, is this the final battle? Why hasn't that guy appeared yet? Of course it's the final battle. Otherwise, the 4 heavenly kings wouldn't appear at the same time. Does it think that the 4 heavenly kings alone are enough to kill us? Damn it, the 4 heavenly kings' strength has been confirmed in the previous few battles. They are much stronger than in the first great divine demon war. These magical beasts' strength has been increasing rapidly. Even the 7 magical beast generals have reached the 9th transformation stage. They didn't grow recently, but in the past 3,000 years. They have been occupying various places to increase their strength. Now, the 7 magical beast generals can't be underestimated. The 7 monarchs will deal with the 7 magical beast generals, and we will join forces to deal with the 4 heavenly kings. What if that guy shows up? Who will deal with it? The Lion King snorted coldly. Haven't we already organized those young and strong natives? Let them hold back the low-level demonic beasts, while the rest of the immortal cultivators hold back the demonic beast supremacy. We'll kill the 4 heavenly kings first, and then we'll kill the demonic beast supremacy with the 7 ultimate destiny formation. Luo Yao was right behind the 7 gods. She turned around and looked at the side of the army. There were tens of thousands of natives there. Their numbers were no less than that of the defending army of immortal cultivators. At this time, they were also fully armed. Among the aborigines, there were also dragon hunters who hunted magical beasts for a living. Although they could only hunt some low-level magical beasts, they could at least buy some time. However, not all of the aborigines were young and strong. The youngest was only 10 years old, and the oldest was an old man in his 60s. In truth, the 7 gods and the other monarchs did not expect the natives to be able to kill the magical beasts when they decided to recruit them. They only had one goal: to use their lives to buy as much time as possible. Ahui was also in the formation. It wasn't that Luo Yao didn't want to protect her. Luo Yao had done everything she could to stop her, but Ahui insisted on joining the battle. Sister Luo Yao, thank you for your protection these past few days. But now that the final battle has come, I know that you have no choice. Sister Luo Yao, you can't understand how we natives feel right now. Luo Yao could still remember Ahui's desolate expression very clearly. This battle is actually a kind of release for us natives. We have no hope of surviving. In the end, Luo Yao couldn't win against Ahui. In fact, Luo Yao knew that the result would be the same whether they joined the battle or not. The cultivator army was defeated, and they would all die in one of the formations of the Dongyue army. Lu Yi, Xingchen, Carefree Wind, Beishui Gufei, Dongfang Ji, Yanran, the Shuang sisters, Suaweng, and the others were all present. Even if Luo Yao had protected them, there was no need to talk about protection when it came to the final battle. Everyone would have to fight. Beishui Gufei used to be a heavenly general in the immortal army. Logically speaking, he had commanded many battles, but now he was especially nervous. This was a battle of the 5th heaven, a battle of real swords and spears. Everyone, pay attention. Don't leave me. Beishui Gufei held Lu Yi's hand tightly. Don't leave my side. Even if I die, I won't let anything happen to you. Other than her brother, Gu Fei was the only one who was willing to sacrifice his life for Lu Yi. Lu Yi nodded heavily. Shuang Ling stood at the front of the formation. Everyone, pay attention. Our battle formation must not be messed up. According to the order we discussed in advance, use soul-body fusion one by one until someone replaces us. Although Shuang Ling's strength was strong, once the soul-body fusion time ended, her spiritual power would not be enough to support the huge consumption of many skills. As the vanguard of the Earth Army, there would naturally be people who were responsible for sending the important information back to Earth when they encountered the fifth heaven. An Earth player adjusted the image stone. He wanted to record the process of this battle. If there was a chance in the future, he could leave it for future people to watch. He said to the image stone, "I may not have the chance to send the image stone back. Our human path of cultivation may only reach this step. Sorry, I'm afraid we can't continue with the guide plan." At this moment, a black giant beast walked out from the demonic beast army. It was one of the 4 heavenly kings, Black Qilin. It stood in front of the formation as if nothing had happened. Its gaze swept across the tens of millions of defenders. Finally, it snorted coldly. "What? You only have so few people? 7 ancient gods? We meet again. Last time, I gave you a chance to be reborn. But this time, none of you can escape." Yu Gui stepped forward and shouted, "Black Qilin, you talk big. Isn't your master so scared that he doesn't dare to show his face?" It was obvious that the other party was trying to provoke him, to test the demonic beast sovereign's situation. However, Black Qilin only laughed loudly. "To kill you ants, do you need my king to do it? What a joke. Black Qilin, no matter how strong your master is, he's still lost." Lion King stepped forward. "Lost? Don't you feel that this word is ironic coming from your mouths? The 7 of you don't have the right to say this word." Black Qilin's voice was loud like a bell. "Even the strongest original god had to self-destruct to injure my king. What do you think you are? Now, the original god has been dead for thousands of years. The 5th heaven is just a possession in my king's pocket. I believe that you heavenly masters have already given the answer. It's just that you don't want to believe it." Falling Dust narrowed his eyes slightly and said coldly, "Is that so? With my new ice god here, how can you be so arrogant? Bring it on." Chapter 881. New Ice God? Who the hell is this kid? Black Qilin's huge eyes swept across Fallen Dust. "Don't you know that even your predecessor was ridiculously weak?" Fallen Dust's nose flared. "Arrogant. Last time, the 7 ancient gods defeated you 4 heavenly kings. Have you forgotten?" "Defeated? Kid, you still don't know anything. You want to fight? Fine, don't you 7 ancient gods think you're very strong? Didn't you think you defeated us 4 heavenly kings? Fine, do the 7 of you dare to fight me in front of the army? If you win, we'll retreat and never take half a step out of the magical beast lair. How about it?" The Black Qilin's voice was powerful and resonant. The hundreds of millions of cultivators here were all shocked after hearing the Black Qilin's words. What did Black Qilin say? It wants to fight the 7 ancient gods alone? That's right, I heard it too. It said that as long as it wins, the magical beast army will retreat to the magical beast lair and never take half a step out of it. Is this guy crazy? The 7 ancient gods defeated the 4 heavenly kings in the first great divine demon war. 4 against 7 still lost, and now it wants to fight the 7 ancient gods alone? Even the 7 kings and 7 gods couldn't believe their ears. Is this guy crazy? Fighting the 7 ancient gods alone? Don't believe it's nonsense, it might be a trap. Black Qilin's challenge completely disrupted the 7 ancient gods' strategy. Divine Mountain shouted, "Don't think of playing any tricks. Do I need to play any tricks with ants like you? I can swear on my 4 heavenly kings' beast soul that I, Black Qilin, will fight the 7 ancient gods alone. If I lose, the magical beast army will retreat to the magical beast lair and never invade again. Only extremely powerful magical beasts had beast souls. To magical beasts, swearing on their beast souls meant that if they broke the oath, they would sign a contract with the other party and become the other party's battle pet. Even super powerhouses like the 4 heavenly kings could only be enslaved once they signed a contract. Therefore, a beast soul oath couldn't be fake. Since there's such a good deal, we naturally have no reason to reject it. The Holy Mother looked at the other 6 gods. They all had the same idea. There really wasn't a better deal than this. If he didn't agree, he would be a fool. The 7 ancient gods stepped out and walked toward the center of the battlefield. The black Chelan's figure flashed and arrived in the middle of the 2 armies. The 7 gods immediately spread out and surrounded the black Chelan, but the black Chelan didn't move at all. Instead, its eyes gradually burned with rage. For thousands of years, when people talked about the great divine infernal war, they all thought that you defeated us, the 4 heavenly kings. Very well, in these few days, I will make you understand a truth. If the origin god doesn't come out, you are all trash. It had to be said that even though the black Chelan was a magical beast, it spoke the thoughts of countless natives. Countless pairs of despairing eyes looked at the field. For the Aborigines, there was no victory or defeat in this battle. At most, it was just a matter of whether they could live a little longer. However, the black Chelan's words made them both proud and sorrowful. The man who defied the heavens with the body of a mortal and became the strongest person at the peak of level 5 was feared by the magical beast army. Even the black Chelan, one of the 4 heavenly kings of the magical beasts, wanted to clear his name. That man back then was such a dazzling existence. The origin god. So, the magical beast army is only afraid of the origin god. Unfortunately, the origin god is no longer here. Ergo took out the origin god medallion that he had broken, and tears streamed down his face. Origin god, if you can hear me, Ergo begs you to let Ergo live. I want to become another you. Avenge my mother, avenge my daughter. In the vast field, the battle between the 7 gods and the black Chelan had already begun. How dare you be so arrogant in front of the 7 of us? Black Chelan, you must have forgotten that we still have the Destiny 7 Ultimate Formation. Set up the formation, soul and body as one. Destiny 7 Ultimate Formation. The 7 ancient gods of war entered the soul and body as one state at the same time. For a moment, wild spirit chi surged outward. The 7 of them all transformed, emitting a terrifying aura. That's the 7 gods. Dongfang Ji's eyes widened. They only entered the soul and body as one state, and they already have such terrifying spirit chi. Gufei said in a low voice. They are all at the level of Theo the Great. Their attributes are already in the millions, not to mention their battle souls. Back then, the 5th heaven's spirit chi was abundant. Whether it was the battle soul or the battle body, it was far from what it is now. I wonder what the black Chelan is relying on to dare to challenge the 7 gods alone. The 7 of them were already standing in the eye of the Destiny 7 Ultimate Formation, trapping the black Chelan within. At this moment, the black Chelan also moved. Metamorphosis. Divine Beast. Luo Yao couldn't help but gasp when she heard these words. Divine Beast. True body. It has already broken through to become a 9th transformation Divine Beast. Oh my god, it has already reached the Divine Beast true body realm. Isn't this the same as the prime of magical beasts back then? Oh no, the 7 gods have underestimated the enemy. It can't be said that they underestimated the enemy. Even if they didn't agree to the duel, we would have suffered more casualties. No matter what, the duel is our only hope, the king of Buzhou country said. At this moment, everyone could only agree with him. If they didn't duel, would the black Chelan not transform into a divine beast? Obviously not. Not only it, But the other 4 heavenly kings weren't weak either. No wonder the Black Qilin was so confident. It has actually reached the divine beast realm. Everyone, be careful, we must fight with all our strength. Yugui shouted. 7 ultimate formation, soul kill. The 7 of them were unusually coordinated, shooting out 7 rays of sword energy from their weapons at the same time. The 7 rays of sword energy didn't shoot directly at the Black Qilin. Instead, they were evenly distributed, spinning rapidly around the Black Qilin like a blood guillotine that was rapidly shrinking. The 7 ultimate formation prohibited movement. Being trapped by the shrinking blood guillotine would definitely cause great damage. However, the Black Qilin suddenly roared, "You think a mere 7 ultimate formation is invincible? Lunar eclipse, eternal dark side." The 8-eyed evil spirit had a skill called lunar eclipse, dark side of the moon. It was extremely powerful, and even Luo Yao couldn't withstand it. The Black Qilin's skill seemed to be an upgraded version of that fellow. It was still daytime, but suddenly, the sky darkened as if it was night. Suddenly, dozens of light pillars shot down from the night sky. At first glance, it seemed as if the energy from the stars in the sky was being projected here. The Black Qilin didn't care about the soul kill at all. The light pillars directly hit the 7 gods. Boom, 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 boom. Instantly, the 7 gods could be vaguely seen rushing out of the light pillars. However, the ground that was hit by the light pillars had been blasted into cylindrical pits that were dozens of meters wide. Each of the pits had a diameter of 100 meters. The 7 gods seemed to have all been injured by the aftershock. They all spat out mouthfuls of blood and looked at the Black Qilin in horror. This is the power of the stars. This isn't the power of a level 5. We've clearly avoided the light pillars, but our spiritual energy is still chaotic. We can't use it at all and can't continue supporting the 7 ultimate formation. That's the power of the stars. Damn it, the 7 ultimate formation was broken in one move. For a period of time, they could only use the 7 ultimate formation once. No matter how many moves they used, as long as they left the 7 ultimate formation, they wouldn't be able to use it again in this battle. Unbelievable! How did the Origin God defeat the Devil Beast Sovereign? Lion King said in horror. The Devil Beast Sovereign had reached the Divine Beast True Body realm, and the Origin God had defeated that powerful Devil Beast Sovereign. Countless people looked at the Black Qilin in horror. The 7 ultimate formation of the 7 gods hadn't even been fully used before it was broken by the Black Qilin in his Divine Beast True Body state. In other words, the 7 gods had been defeated in one move. The Black Qilin looked at the 7 gods indifferently. I've already said that you are all ants. Do you still not believe me? The fate of the level 5 has already been decided. Unless the Origin God is reborn, all of you will have the same fate. Chapter 882. In a duel between generals, the morale of both sides would be affected the most. The power displayed by the Dark Qilin had already driven the magical beast army into a frenzy. They roared wantonly at the defenders, eager to give it a try. It was as if they couldn't wait to charge over and kill them. On the other hand, the 7 gods were defeated by the Black Qilin, one of the 4 heavenly kings. They knew that they would lose this battle. Lu Yi's mind had never been so clear. The rumors were true. No one could solve the 5th tribulation. To be able to reach the 5th heavenly layer, perhaps she really had no regret. She had seen so many aliens, strange beasts, and magical beasts. She had seen a real world of immortal cultivation. These were things that the ordinary esports girl had never dared to imagine. Her only regret was that she didn't have the chance to go back to the real world and say goodbye to her brother. She had finally reached the 5th heaven. She thought she could find her brother, but she didn't know where he was. But this was good. At least her brother still had a chance to live. Gu Fei held Lu Yi's hand tightly and looked at her affectionately. "I'm sorry. I didn't meet your brother, so I couldn't fight with him. Lu Yi looked at Gu Fei with gratification. After being together for so long, this man had always been by her side and had been a great help to the players on Earth. Gu Fei had practiced day and night for the sake of his brother's promise to marry my sister. Unfortunately, he didn't even get to meet his brother. It's okay. Even if I can't meet my brother, I promise you, I won't listen to him this time. Really? No. What if your brother beats me? Hey, we're about to die. Can you two stop showing off your love? Dongfang Ji glared at them. You're about to die, but you still want to show off your love? Can you consider my feelings? Cowherd summoned a battle tiger and patted its back. Little Genesis, I'm sorry. I didn't help you find that brat. The battle tiger was transformed by Little Genesis. Cowherd was a beast tamer, so he transformed into a battle tiger to fool others. There was a hint of reluctance in his eyes. Boss, Little Furball, Little Genesis completed the mission of the third heaven and finally reached the fifth heaven. But I didn't get to meet you. Xiao Yuan. I miss Boss. I miss Furball. Rhubarb. Xiao Yuan can't die. Cowherd felt sad. He nodded. Little Originator, no matter what, we must fight to the end. With a long sigh, Cowherd Man looked into the distance. Brat, if you're still in the fifth layer of heaven, don't ever come back. In the center of the battlefield, the battle between the Black Qilin and the seven gods wasn't over yet. It suddenly stomped its front hooves on the ground, and two cracks instantly appeared on the ground. Like lightning, they tore towards the Lion King and Luo Chen. Now it's my turn to attack. Roar! I'll kill you trash first, then I'll slaughter you ants. Splitting mountain and splitting earth. If they dodged this attack, the army behind them would definitely be injured. Falling Dust tried to block it and shouted, Ancient Buddha Golden Body. Boom. Instantly, the ground cracked and blasted Luo Chen's body. Although the fissure didn't seem too violent, it contained an unimaginable power. Spiritual energy instantly struck the golden body. No, although the fissure was blocked, the spiritual energy contained in the fissure passed through the golden body and directly struck Luo Chen's body. Luo Chen's body was sent flying like a kite with a broken string. Luo Chen violently spat out a mouthful of blood, his eyes filled with shock. This spiritual energy attack actually penetrated my shield. His shield had blocked the fissure, but his body had lost half of its life. If he hadn't obtained many opportunities, this attack would have taken his life. Heavens, the Black Qilin heavily injured the ice god with a casual move? Its strength is too terrifying. It's over, we have no chance of winning this battle. The seven gods can't even defeat one of the four heavenly kings. It looks like the prophecy is about to come true. On a distant mountain, Xian Zhen and Living Buddha were speechless for half a year as they watched Luo Chen's heavily injured figure fly away. After a long time, Xian Zhen sighed. Man proposes, God disposes. But I didn't expect that despite our careful planning, Luo Chen's strength would rise so quickly. He couldn't even withstand a single blow from the Black Qilin. Living Buddha suddenly coughed violently. He was already physically and mentally exhausted, but he still ignored his body and wailed, It's hard to defy fate, it's hard to defy fate, it's hard to defy fate. Fifth heavenly layer, it's hard to escape this calamity. Lion King saw Luo Chen's situation and his eyes almost popped out of their socket. The Black Qilin's move didn't seem to be undodgeable, but they had no choice but to take it head-on. Because if they didn't, the fissure would directly attack the army behind them. But if they took it head-on, the spiritual energy had an extremely strong penetrative effect. If it hit the body directly, they would be heavily injured or even killed. At this critical moment, he quickly flashed towards the natives' army. The fissure chased after him. Luo Yao's eyes widened as she instantly understood Lion King's intention. He wanted to protect the army, so he led the fissure to the natives' side. This guy. What a bastard! Luo Yao couldn't care less. Her figure moved and flashed towards the natives' army. The natives weren't stupid. When they saw Lion King rushing towards them with the Black Cheelant's attack, they roughly understood Lion King's intention. But what could they do now? They couldn't run away, and they couldn't dodge. Ergo looked on helplessly as Lion King stopped in front of his formation, his eyelids twitching. He had just prayed for the Origin God's protection, hoping that he could survive. But now, it seemed that he would be the first to die. Father, mother, second girl. Ergo's eyes widened in anger as he squeezed his hand into the Origin God token. Lion King had already reached his desired position and calculated the timing. When the fisher was about to hit him, he quickly activated 100 Beast Shadow and successfully dodged the fisher's attack. The Black Cheelant slightly narrowed his eyes. Lion King, I didn't expect you to be such a coward. You actually dared to dodge my heaven and earth rend? Well, since you don't care about the lives of your subordinates, I'll take advantage of this opportunity to send them to hell. Lion King's previous position was a few meters in front of the natives' army. In such a short distance, the fisher's attack didn't change direction and directly blasted towards the natives' army. Lion King finally heaved a sigh of relief. That guy didn't chase after him. Want to kill me? Not so easy. Who cares if they live or die? Lion King escaped, leaving behind the natives to face the Black Cheelant's terrifying attack. At this moment, a silver figure flashed over. It's Jade Empress. Although Jade Empress was strong, the seven gods were no match for the Black Cheelant. How could she block this attack? But Luo Yao didn't care. Luo Yao stood in front of the natives' army and stood in front of the fisher's tentacles. She drew out Purple Firmament Daybreak and shouted, Sword Dao Limitless Ultimate Move, Limitless Reversal. Chapter 883. Purple clouds breaking night stabbed into the ground and collided with the tentacles of the earth fisher. A huge spiritual energy wave came crashing down. Luo Yao spat out a mouthful of blood, but her hands held the sword hilt tightly. Emperor Blood Awakening. Suddenly, Luo Yao's eyes glowed red, and a terrifying spiritual energy burst out from her body to resist the attack. Luo Yao turned the sword hilt fiercely, and the earth fisher was repelled. This was a fighting style of using 4 ounces to deflect 1,000 caddies. Fortunately, he had this kind of technique. Otherwise, Luo Yao would not have been able to withstand this attack. The ground cracked toward the army of demonic beasts. Black Cheelant frowned slightly. It's you? Humph, for these people, you dare to resist my attack. You're much more courageous than that Lion King. Then, Black Cheelant stepped out 2 more times. One hit the earth fisher that was repelled by Luo Yao, and the other hit Luo Yao again. Black Cheelant had completed 1 attack and 1 defense. Compared to the desperate defense of the cultivators, it was on a completely different level. This time, I'd like to see if there's any idiot who will come to save you. Luo Yao spat out a mouthful of blood and watched the second earth fisher coming toward her. Behind her were the natives. She could not dodge, but she did not have the strength to resist it again. Jade Empress, run! The natives cried behind her. For them, Jade Empress was the only king who would consider their lives and protect them in times of war. No one else would be willing to stand up for them. Now that Jade Empress was willing to sacrifice herself to protect them, they were already satisfied. Jade Empress, we natives thank you for your kindness. Protect Jade Empress, we'll block it. At this moment, Jade Empress raised her hand and stopped everyone. Her silver armor was stained with blood, and her white cloak was fluttering in the wind. She took out Purple Clouds Breaking Night. To be honest, Luo Yao did not expect that she would sacrifice herself for the native. Maybe she was led astray by that person for half a year. If I don't protect you, that person will be angry with me when he comes back. Luo Yao wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth. Swear, senior uncle, Atai, shall we? I promised him to protect you and treat the Aborigines well. I've already gone back on my word in front of him once. So this time, even if I have to risk my life, I won't go back on my word." In the distance, Shuang Ling clenched her fists tightly. "We were overthinking. The Jade Empress, she is a good person. She really wanted to help her, but there were still many people here who needed her protection. She had only been in the fifth heaven for a short period of time, and her body was not strong enough. She could only use soul-body unification. However, soul-body unification only lasted for an hour. If he used it now, he wouldn't be able to hold on for long if a fight broke out. Luo Yao risked her life to open the second fissure, but she was already heavily injured. Her silver armor was already dyed red with blood. She stood up shakily and stood alone in front of the natives. "Jade Emperor! Hurry up and leave. You will die if you continue like this," Ergo cried bitterly. However, the third time, the Black Qilin seemed to be angered. This mere Emperor-level cultivator actually blocked his attacks twice. This time, he attacked Luo Yao with 4 consecutive earth-shattering attacks. Everyone knew that the Jade Emperor wouldn't be able to block them this time. Luo Yao only felt that her body was on the verge of collapse. She pulled out purple firmament-breaking night again, but her eyes were incomparably firm. "If you want to kill them, kill me first." Emperor Blood Awakening. Limitless Sword Dao, Limitless Reversal. After using this sword, Luo Yao only felt that her whole body was relaxed. "Hey, can you share some of your roasted snow rabbit with me? I haven't eaten for a few days." In the snow, a breathtakingly beautiful woman said to a young man. That was the first time they met. Later, she heard the story of him and Shui-Er's granduncle. Under the moonlight, Shui-Er leaned on his shoulder and looked at the stars in the northern sky. "For 2 months, I will ensure his safety." This was perhaps the only promise between them. "Hey, you still want to take the lion's share? You almost ruined my plan with that long face of yours." At that time, she saw that guy's cunning side. Amidst the rain of arrows, he hugged her tightly and protected her in his arms. "It's okay, I'm already used to being heavily injured. Also, I don't like to be full of blood when fighting." In front of the abyss, she watched as he fell into the astral wind, and waited for 7 days and 7 nights. In the past few hundred years, perhaps this was the only time he had truly lived. It was good to be able to leave with these memories. It was a pity that she didn't really get along with him. Even if it was just watching the sunset together, it would be good. "Ha ha ha ha, now you know how trashy you are. Let's see how you block it. In today's great war of gods and demons, I will use your life as a sacrifice to show the might of my demonic beast army. The 7 gods are just dogs. The Jade Emperor's death is not regrettable. Everyone, listen up, kill the 5. The last word, heaven, was not uttered. Suddenly, an extremely small black shadow streaked across the sky like a bolt of black lightning. Its speed and the ferocious spiritual energy it contained caused the Black Qilin, the Torch Dragon, the White Dragon, and the Corpse Kuan to look at the sky. In just an instant, the black shadow was in front of Luo Yao. 4 fissures appeared from all directions, and all of them struck the black shadow. With a loud bang, the huge collision of spiritual energy completely exploded. In an instant, the earth shook and sand filled the sky. Not long after, when the smoke and dust dissipated, people found that the area of the explosion had a huge crater with a diameter of dozens of meters. Whether it was the earth-splitting attack or the spiritual energy penetration, they were all exhausted in the explosion just now. Luo Yao raised her head in shock. She was very clear that it was not her infinite reversal that blocked the 4 cracks, but the black shadow just now. Everyone looked at the black shadow in the crater. When they saw the black shadow clearly, their brains short-circuited. In the center of the crater, there was only a wooden tablet. It was the most ordinary wooden tablet, about the size of a palm. At this moment, it was floating in the air and rotating slowly. As the wooden tablet rotated, people saw the 3 words on it again and again. Origin God Token. Ergo almost cried out in shock. All the natives seemed to have been struck by lightning, and their minds went blank. Countless guards were also shocked speechless. Luo Chun held his chest with one hand and stared at the Origin God token with wide eyes. What's going on? Didn't the Origin God token lose its effect? Could it be that the Origin God has been reborn? The Origin God has been reborn? That's impossible. Even the demonic beast army was shocked when they saw this token. Impossible, impossible. That guy can't be reborn. Suddenly, Luo Yao turned to look at the sky. In the setting sun, a figure was walking slowly with his back against the light. Against the direction of the light, he walked alone. He did not want to become a god or a demon. He only wanted to have a clear conscience. If there's darkness in front of me, I'll slash it with my sword. If there's a god in front of me, I'll slash it with my sword. Luo Yao's eyes were instantly wet and she said 4 words. Solipsistic. Chapter 884. Who is it? Many people also saw the figure in the distance, but they could not see his face clearly. They could only see his silhouette. The slightly thin figure seemed to be the result of surviving in the wilderness for a long time. The most eye-catching thing was that one of his arms and shoulders were missing. Missing his physical body? To cultivators, they knew very well what it meant to have a missing physical body. Their 3 attributes would be permanently lowered, and they would be unable to use many skills. It could be said that a missing physical body was enough to ruin a cultivator's future. However, such a person's steps were unusually steady. His aura was enough to rival the 4 heavenly kings and the 7 generals of the demonic beasts. An ordinary token could release such terrifying power. This made the Black Qilin dare not continue to order the attack. Everyone was desperately searching in their minds, trying to find a match for this person. However, they could not find him. However, although the world did not know him, there was a close friend who recognized the figure in a glance. Brother Du Quang. Among the natives, a girl's eyes were instantly wet. In this world, only Brother Du Quang and Sister Luo Yao would protect the natives, especially Solipsistic. In her heart, she had already regarded him as one of the natives. Ergo looked at the figure in shock. He seemed to remember that such a person used spirit stones to buy the wheelbarrow at home. He is one of the natives? In the distance, Lu Yi and the rest recognized Lu Chen at a glance. Even if he was missing an arm, they would definitely recognize him. Brother. Lu Yi's eyes turned red. Yes, she only remembered that she could not find her brother. However, she forgot that if Lu Chen knew that she was in danger, he would definitely climb out of hell to protect her sister, even if he had to go to the depths of hell. In the East Peak Plains, a gentle breeze blew. Gradually, the wind became violent. Above their heads, the stars in the daytime could be seen moving. The heavenly masters from various countries looked at the sky in shock. Living Buddha also noticed this scene. He hurriedly checked the stars. After a while, his eyes widened. No, how is this possible? Senior Living Buddha, what's wrong? Xian Zhen asked anxiously. Variable. A variable has appeared in the unsolvable divination. But this is not scientific. Why did the stars move? Why did the divination change? Don't tell me, it's to defy the heavens and change fate? Xian Zhen couldn't understand Living Buddha's mutterings at all, but he roughly understood that an unknown variable had appeared in the previously unsolvable divination. Not even the Living Buddha could see through it. The strong wind messed up Luo Yao's long hair. She had just moved away from the hair blocking her line of sight when she saw a red ribbon appear in front of her. She raised her head in shock and saw a face that she couldn't be more familiar with. Lu Chen said with some embarrassment, I saw it in a small shop in the West Kingdom. The owner seemed to have run away, so I took it. I think it suits you, but I don't know if you'll like it. Luo Yao was about to be angered to death by this fellow. Didn't he know that no matter what he gave her, she would be happy? You stole a ribbon from me? It can't be considered stealing. That place has already been flattened by the magical beast army. It should be considered picking it up. Lu Chen explained seriously. I remembered that you always like to tie up your hair. It was a pity that this ribbon fell on the ground and no one wanted it, so I picked it up and washed it. If the origin god was here, he would definitely be moved to tears. This fellow actually listened to him? He actually knew how to give a gift to a girl? This was simply unprecedented. What was interesting was that Lu Chen, under the gaze of hundreds of millions of eyes, did nothing but give Luo Yao a gift first. But no one dared to disturb him. Even the magical beast army was biding their time. There was no other way. Lu Chen's origin god token was still floating behind him. It seemed to be telling everyone that if they wanted to make a move now, they'd better weigh the consequences first. A little boy pushed through the crowd and ran in front of Lu Chen, interrupting Lu Chen and Luo Yao's conversation. Sir, are you the origin god? Lu Chen looked at the little boy in surprise. After thinking for a while, he suddenly said, Ergu? Where are your mother and sister? My mother and my second daughter were killed by magical beasts, Ergu said while crying. But he didn't want to recall this. He suddenly raised his head and tugged at Lu Chen's arm. Sir, tell me, what's up with that token? Is the origin god still alive? The origin god token has clearly lost its effect. Why is your origin god token so powerful? This question wasn't as simple as it seemed on the surface. Almost all the natives looked at Lu Chen nervously. It was like a person in despair who saw a ray of light. They desperately wanted to know the answer. His answer might change their fate. Luo Yao took the ribbon and tied up her long hair. She also looked at Lu Chen. It wasn't just the natives. Everyone on the battlefield was waiting for Lu Chen's answer. Lu Chen turned around and looked at the token. He remembered the origin god. I beg you to be reborn in my place and fight for the natives. Lu Chen lowered his head slightly and looked at Ergu. If you're asking about the former origin god, then he actually died a long time ago. What he left behind was just a weak remnant soul. Luo Yao heard Lu Chen's words. She looked at Lu Chen in surprise. The original origin god. Then there's a new origin god? Ergu wasn't stupid. He immediately asked, Sir, do you mean there's a new origin god? Where is he? Will he come to save us? Suddenly, Luo Yao, who had been thinking with her head lowered, looked up. Her eyes widened as she stared at Lu Chen. Lu Chen nodded at her. He squatted down and patted Ergu's shoulder. Don't worry, Ergu. He's here. He'll fight for you. With that, Lu Chen stood up. His gaze instantly turned cold. Immediately after, Lu Chen's figure disappeared. In the next second, he was in front of Leonis. Sacred Lotus Sword Heart. Lu Chen didn't even use his sword. He just used his sword fingers as a sword. More than 1,000 streaks of sword energy shot toward Leonis. All of this happened too suddenly. In addition, Lu Chen could move as he pleased. Leonis didn't have time to dodge. He was hit directly. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. A large amount of sword energy directly tore Leonis into pieces. Seeing this scene, many people couldn't react. That guy instantly killed one of the 7 gods, Leonis? Is he crazy? The 7 gods are extremely powerful. Why did he kill Leonis? Whose side is he on? He said he's fighting for the original origin gods. The other 6 gods' eyes almost popped out. Leonis died just like that? What are you trying to do? Even if you're the new origin god and you're fighting for the original origin gods, you should unite against the outside world. Why did you kill Leonis? You killed us. Do you want to fight the magical beast army alone? Faced with all these questions, Lu Chen narrowed his eyes slightly. His gaze swept across the 6 of them. It paused for a moment on Luo Chen. Of the 7 ancient war gods, other than him, the other 6 are the same as the magical beast army. Lu Chen's eyes emitted a faint green fog. Tai, I'll use the 6 ancient war gods to pay for the lives of you and your wife. All of you have to die. Chapter 885. Only the natives knew why the 6 ancient gods had to die. When they died, they sacrificed millions of natives and were reborn with the help of the natives' bodies. They had never treated the natives as human beings. That was why the original gods were not reborn. At this moment, all the natives knew that the man in front of them was the new original god. A god of war who truly fought for the natives. Are you crazy? You want to kill the 7 ancient gods before the war? Do you want the demonic beast army to destroy the 5th heaven? Yugui shouted angrily. Could it be that you are not a cultivator? Xunshan also shouted. Lu Chen smiled. Didn't I just say that all of you are going to die? Little beast. Lu Chen waved his hand, and a young man walked out from behind the natives. There was a little white mouse and a dog called Rhubarb by his side. As it ran, Little Furball suddenly ran off course. It stood there and looked at a certain place in the immortal cultivator army, its small eyes rolling. Little Furball, father is calling us. Little beast hurriedly stopped. Rhubarb, why are you also? Before his voice died away, a ferocious tiger darted out from afar. Big Yellow brought the little furball and ran all the way to meet the tiger. Lu Chen looked at the tiger in surprise. Although he did not recognize what was so special about the tiger, he saw a group of people behind it. Lu Yi, Cowherd, Gufei, Shuangling, Saintus, and some earth players. Little Furball and Rhubarb ran to the tiger and played affectionately, as if they were old friends reuniting after a long time. There were only a few war pets that could make Little Furball not want to eat them. Lu Chen suddenly thought of one. Little Originator? Is it you? The tiger rushed to Lu Chen and rubbed its huge head against Lu Chen intimately. It's really you. Lu Chen was very excited. He had long wanted to go back to pick up Originator, but he had not found a way to return to the 3rd layer of heaven. However, the junior Originator had chased him from the 3rd heaven to the 5th heaven. Brother! Your hand! Lu Yi rushed in front of Lu Chen, tears streaming down her face. Lu Chen smiled and said, Silly girl, it's okay. It's just an arm. There will be ways to grow it back in the future. These old friends had been through thick and thin with Lu Chen. It was just that this place was not suitable for catching up. Otherwise, they would have been able to chat for days and nights. Lu Yi, you guys go to Luo Yao's place first. I'll come and find you guys after I've settled things here. Brother, be careful of the 4 heavenly kings of the magical beasts. Their power is too terrifying. Lu Chen smiled and nodded. Don't worry, your brother is even scarier. Everyone also knew that this battle was not something they could help with, so they all shifted their attention to the natives. Only Junior Originator refused to leave. Now that Junior Originator was by his side, Lu Chen could check its situation. He briefly checked Junior Originator's situation and found that it was not a puppet now. Now, Junior Originator was a spiritual body with its own consciousness. Lu Chen did not know why Junior Originator had become like this, but since it had its own consciousness, it should be able to estimate its own combat capability. Seeing that Junior Originator was eager to have a try, Lu Chen smiled slightly. Well, Junior Originator, since you want to stay, you will fight with them, Lu Chen said. Little beast, I'll leave these 5 people to the 4 of you. Remember, none of them can survive. Yes, father, leave them to us. Little beast, Little Furry, and Junior Originator stood in front of Rhubarb, but Rhubarb seemed to be responsible for cheering them on. He barked at the 5 people fiercely and then hid behind Little Furry. If any one of the 7 states dares to interfere, you don't have to be polite to them. Lu Chen turned around and walked toward the army of monsters. Luo Yao was the first to give an order that nobody should interfere in the matter of the god of origin. The other 6 emperors looked at each other in bewilderment. Nobody was willing to bet on the god of origin anymore. Behind him, little furry had enlarged, and 18 illusions of divine beasts appeared on its body. Unwilling to be outdone, Junior Originator roared and took the lead to charge at the ghost. Good heavens! What are those things? Why are those battle pets so strong when that guy hasn't achieved soul-body fusion yet? Is that a sky-swallowing rat? It's said that it's not restricted by Jyotian laws. 18 illusions of divine beast. Is that kid a human being or a battle pet? After taking more than 100 fragments of the protocrystal, Little Beast was no longer as strong as when it was slaughtering Class 2 and Class 2s in the Demon Eye Valley. At the same time, more people fixed their eyes on Lu Chun. The battle there would determine the fate of the Level 5. Lu Chun kept moving forward until he was less than 5 meters away from the Black Qilin. Even the Black Qilin felt uncomfortable at such a distance. It's you. Lu Chun smiled faintly. It seems that the 4 of you are stronger than before. I have helped you by opening the 5 spirit veins. Good that you know. In order to increase your own strength, you continuously opened up the spirit veins, allowing us to become unprecedentedly strong. You're the one who raised the stakes to this point. Lu Chun snorted. You're right, but on the other hand, you didn't stop me because you wanted to become stronger. That's why I'm here. What can you do on your own? Can you stop an army of 10 million? Moreover, the strength of our king has already reached a level unimaginable to the 5th heavenly layer. You, the solipsistic king, can't defy nature. Lu Chun sneered. What does it have to do with you whether I can defy nature or not? Do you think you're the best? You hurt my friend just now, didn't you? Lu Chen's sudden words stunned the Black Qilin for a moment. It had seen Lu Chun and Luo Yao together, so it knew what Lu Chen was referring to. Oh, you mean that trash? I heard her, so what? My beast army has the 7 generals and the 4 heavenly kings. Each of them is as strong as 1,000,000 soldiers. I also have an army of 10 million. Gods and demons can't stop me, and I have the strongest. But you're just one person. Oh, right, you have a bunch of battle pets. They're quite strong, but what's interesting is that you're going to use them against the 7 gods. I don't know if I should thank you, you idiot. Lu Chun shook his head. Okay, I know you have a lot of people. Aren't you tired of counting your troops every day? The Black Qilin almost vomited blood. It was showing off its strength seriously, but in this guy's eyes, it was a stupid thing to do. Suddenly, Lu Chun raised his head and looked at the Black Qilin and the magical beasts behind it. Since you have a lot of people, how about this? Hearing these words, Xiao Yao Feng, who was at the back, suddenly became nervous. No way. No way. Mad God can't be thinking, no. Big brother, at this time, please don't. Stardust shook his head. Xiao Yao, don't count on it. I bet Mad God will do that. From the day I met him, he won't fight unless he scares a few of his own people to death. Cowherd sighed. After a few years, I thought this brat would be more low-key. Why is he becoming more arrogant? Beishui Gufei looked worried. Big brother, I'm begging you. Can't you fight well? Don't let your future brother-in-law lose all hope. On the other hand, Frost Silk, Frost Dance, Zhengui Yanran, and Luo Yao's eyes were shining. That's right, although this guy made people want to kick him to death, sometimes, it was this kind of man that made them admire him after watching him fight. At this time, Lu Chun said that sentence. All of you, come at me together. Chapter 886. Sure enough, Lone Tyrant's side didn't disappoint. Although they hadn't started fighting, his words were already much more interesting than the 7 gods behind him, who were still fighting each other. As soon as he said this, the army of immortal cultivators almost collapsed. Did you hear what he said? All together? He wants to take on the entire demonic beast army alone? Oh my God, it's already unbelievable that the Black Qilin defeated the 7 ancient gods by himself. In the end, this guy wants to challenge all of them. I still don't know how strong he is, but I've never seen anyone more arrogant than him. Is this something that a one-star wild cultivator should say? Even Theo the Great doesn't dare to say anything. The Black Chelan and the other 3 heavenly kings were stunned. Solipsistic, although you have some strength, how dare you look down on the 4 heavenly kings? All right, since you have such an interesting request, we'll satisfy you. Lu Chen snorted. Where's your boss? Is he still not coming out? You're not qualified to mention our king. We're more than enough to take care of you. Bai Qi, Shirkuan, Torch Dragon, and the 4 heavenly kings came to the front. We'll kill you first, the new origin god, then slaughter the 5 levels of heaven. In front of the 4 giant beasts, Lu Chen was extremely small. It looked like the 4 heavenly kings did not intend to let the demonic beast army attack together. Even the 7 generals did not come out. Lu Chen felt a little regretful. It looked like he had to kill them in a few rounds. If these 4 guys were all upgraded to their divine beast forms, then in the first Great Divine Demon War, Lu Chen would have to face 4 demonic beasts at the same time. It went without saying how terrifying this pressure was. Luo Yao was so nervous that she could not breathe. One had to know that Lu Chen had lost an arm when he killed the 8-eyed evil spirit in his peak state. Lu Yi and the rest did not even dare to blink. The 4 heavenly kings of the demonic beasts were like the top of the 5 levels of heaven. Could brother really defeat the 4 heavenly kings alone? At some point in time, dark clouds gathered in the sky. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. It was as if the heavens and earth were bearing witness to this great battle. Falling dust clutched his chest. Due to his heavy injuries, he couldn't summon any spirit energy to support the 7 gods in their battle against the 3 beasts. However, the solipsistic had spared him, so he could only watch the solipsistic battle. Solipsistic. He recalled Wu Bangqing's joust for a spouse. That fellow had faced several geniuses by himself. However, things had changed with the passage of time. Now, their identities were different. He trusted Ice God, and that guy had become the new origin god. The battle was about to begin. Divine Demon Symbiosis. Lu Chen shouted in a low voice and activated the skill. War God Possession. Demon Transformation. 3 Reincarnations. Dragon Blood Boiling, Place of Death. Lu Chen's preparations were a little too many, but they were all instantaneous and could be completed in one go. In an instant, his black hair turned white, and his appearance changed greatly. His entire body erupted with astonishing spiritual energy. Not activating soul-body unification? Ha 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 ha, solipsistic, you're really arrogant. The Black Chelan's smile became sinister. Unfortunately, lions and tigers use all their strength to hunt rabbit. We won't show mercy. The solipsistic's relationship with the magical beast army was too deep. The 4 heavenly kings didn't dare to be careless. The other 3 divine beasts all entered their divine beast true forms. For a moment, there was a gust of wind that made it hard for people to stand steadily. The sky changed color. Dark clouds rolled, thunder roared, and the world turned dark. The most terrifying battle of the 5th heaven had begun. The Torch Dragon's huge body soared into the sky. The flame in its mouth seemed to be able to illuminate the world. Sun and moon illumination. The world was about to be illuminated by a blinding light. The Torch Dragon didn't seem to be holding a flame in its mouth, but another sun. Many of the guards had experienced the power of the sun and moon illumination. It was enough to blind a 1,000,000-strong army instantly. The 4 heavenly kings didn't lie. They started with a powerful move. Lu Chen snorted and closed his eyes slightly. Insignificant skill, Heaven's Eye. At the same time, the corpse Kuan spewed out thick green smoke from its mouth. It was the Chun corpse poison that countless guards couldn't resist. Corpse corroding poison, 9 nether een poison. No, it's not the Chun corpse poison. The Chun corpse poison should be colorless. A guard general who had participated in the frontline battle widened his eyes. Look, the plants on the ground all rot when they come into contact with the poisonous fog. Only now did everyone see that wherever the green fog passed, all the plants instantly rotted and withered. The ground was charred black. The corpse koan has a poisonous fog that's even stronger than the Chun corpse poison. Anyone who comes into contact with it will die. This poison is so strong. The white clam giggled. Its body was like a snake as it quickly slithered toward Lu Chun. Solipsistic, I heard that you met Nuwa's remnant soul once. Don't you think I look like her? The white clam was molded by Nuwa according to her appearance. It was almost exactly the same as Nuwa. Lu Chun snorted. So what if you look like her? You're just a replica. She's the god of heaven mending, and you're just a demonic beast that brings chaos to the world. The white clam laughed instead of being angry. Ha 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 ha, well said. I like to bring chaos to the world. Today I'll start with you. Heaven mending palm. It was actually the heaven mending palm. It was the skill used by Nuwa's remnant soul that day. Unfortunately, Lu Chun noticed that the white clam's heaven mending palm was far inferior to Nuwa's remnant soul. It was just similar in form and spirit. Taking a step back, even if it was the real heaven mending palm, it wouldn't be able to stop Lu Chun. The black Qilin suddenly stomped on the ground, and 8 consecutive cracks spread toward Lu Chun. Try this. Lunar eclipse, eternal dark side. Everyone's hearts were hanging by a thread when they saw this. Heavens, the 4 heavenly kings are actually working together. Sun and moon illumination, 9 nether een poison, heaven mending palm, heaven splitting earth, eternal dark side. Any one of these 5 moves can defeat the 7 gods, but now all of them are pointing toward the origin god. From all directions, from the sky to the ground, there were light, poison, earth, physical, and spiritual attacks. There were attacks and restrictions. It could be said that the coordination was flawless. Solipsistic, I'll let you be arrogant. You have nowhere to hide, the black Qilin said angrily. At this moment, Lu Chun raised one arm, and a black and white sword gradually appeared in the void. Once this sword appeared, all weapons submitted. What weapon is that? Why does my weapon have no fighting spirit? Could it be a divine weapon? Lu Chun and the limitless sword were probably used to everyone's shock. Lu Chun held the hilt of the limitless sword, but his expression was as calm as still water. Taking a deep breath, Lu Chun placed the limitless sword in front of his chest. The surrounding spiritual energy surged toward the limitless sword like seawater bursting through a dam. The limitless sword instantly exploded with an unprecedented pressure. The black and white fog blended into chaos and exploded, spreading for dozens of miles. For a moment, the billions of weapons that were only trembling slightly earlier actually trembled violently, almost escaping the control of their owners. Luo Yao looked at the purple firmament daybreak in shock. Even the purple firmament daybreak submitted? With just a move, the wind and clouds surged, heaven and earth shook, and the mountains shook. What sword move is this? It's already so earth-shattering from the start. Luo Yao looked at the figure in shock. It seemed that he only had one arm and one sword, but perhaps one sword was enough. At this moment, Lu Chun slowly said 4 words. One sword. Heaven-splitting sword. Chapter 887. The illumination of the sun and moon had already disappeared. The dark side of eternity had already activated the power of the stars, turning the previously bright sky into a dark night. The 9 nether insidious poison cloud rolled and pounced over. On the ground, 8 crevices snaked forward like tentacles and forked lightning bolts, desperately extending. A golden Buddha's palm, at least 100 meters long, came crashing down like a small mountain. The 4 heavenly kings' 5 killer moves covered the sky and covered the sun. It was like the dark side of the 5th heaven, chaotic and cruel. Suddenly, A green mist ignited in Lu Chen's eyes. It was even more conspicuous against his white skin. Then, he gripped the limitless demon's sword and turned into a white light, instantly shooting out. Heavenbreaker didn't have the ability to jump through space like Permetha. From this point alone, it could be said that it was just an ordinary sword energy. However, this sword energy was too fast. This was no longer the speed of an ordinary sword energy. When people saw the white light, it had already shot 1,000 meters away. In the blink of an eye, Lu Chen was already standing behind the 4 heavenly kings. Heavens, so fast! The 4 heavenly kings couldn't react in time. That's not right. He attacked from the front. But how did he pass through the dark side of eternity, 9 serenities poison, heaven-patching palm, and heaven-splitting earth? It's fine if he passed through those killer moves, but how did he pass through the 4 heavenly kings' bodies? Everyone's eyes widened. They found it hard to understand Lu Chen's sudden appearance. The Black Qilin turned and stared at Lu Chen. What skill? You're actually able to pass through our skills and bring your body through our bodies? The White Dragon frowned. I was careless. I actually let you dodge. The Torch Dragon said coldly, I thought you were strong. Didn't we force you to use such a powerful displacement skill to save your life? The Black Qilin sneered. Solipsistic, you're quite arrogant, but that's all there is to it. Don't think that this is all we have. That was just the appetizer. The real show is about to begin. Before the word begin could be said, the Black Qilin's expression suddenly changed. Then, it suddenly lowered its head and looked at its chest. A moment later, it looked at the back of the figure in front of it in horror. They had said so much just now, but Solipsistic didn't pay any attention to them. He didn't even turn his head. He only let out a long sigh of relief, adjusted his breathing, and then stopped. The finishing move must be done well. After all, this was the best part of what Lu Chen had learned. The other 3 heavenly kings seemed to have realized something at the same time. They all looked at their own spiritual cores and then looked at the figure in shock. Lu Chen finally spoke. Save my life. Do you think you can threaten me? You're already so old, why are you still so naive? Next time, remember, in front of me, it's best to use your strongest skills from the start, otherwise you won't have a chance to use them. Oh, there shouldn't be a next time. Suddenly, a violent explosion came from behind. The Immortal Cultivator Army and the Demonic Beast Army all looked at the scene before them in horror. The dozens of starlight pillars on the side of eternal darkness suddenly shattered like glass. The huge palm print of the heaven-patching divine palm directly exploded. The fog of the 9 Nether's poison was rapidly compressed until it was compressed to a point and turned into pure spiritual energy, causing a violent explosion. The ground suddenly shook violently, and the entire East Peak Plains shook violently. The defending army and the demonic beast army almost couldn't stand still. Then, in the direction of the white light, a crack of thousands of meters appeared on the ground instantly. This kind of crack was completely different from heaven and earth splitting. Heaven and earth splitting was the gradual cracking of the ground caused by the spiritual energy of the skill hidden underground. But this time it was a direct collapse. The crack was perfectly straight and in an instant it was thousands of meters wide. The crack was as deep as a cliff, as if the ground had been directly split into 2. Heaven and earth splitting? It had already disappeared without a trace. Cowherd, who was watching from afar, almost dropped his jaw. This was caused by the residual power of the sword just now? That sword was too strong. With a boom, a bloody hole suddenly appeared in the chest of the Black Qilin. The beast core shattered. The shattering of the spirit core and the self-explosion of the spirit core were 2 different things, but without a doubt the result would be death. Then, the White Clam, Corpse Kuan, and Torch Dragon were not spared. A series of explosions came from their huge bodies, and blood and flesh flew everywhere. their beast cores shattered. The huge bodies of the torch dragon and corpse Koan directly fell from the sky with a loud boom. The bodies of the black Qilin and the white clam fell to the ground. Only shock was left in the eyes of the four heavenly kings. How is this possible? You haven't activated soul body as one. You're only a one-star cultivator. No matter how strong your body's attack is, it's impossible to penetrate my beast core. The torch dragon looked at the back of the figure in shock. Lu Chen's back was facing the torch dragon as he said indifferently, "Dripping water can penetrate stone, willow leaves can break gold, and weak grass can split stone. What you think is impossible is possible in my eyes." After saying that, Lu Chen didn't stay any longer and walked toward the demonic beast army in front of him. Behind him, the countless defenders were dumbfounded, their bodies frozen. Is this the power of heaven's splitting sword? It's too terrifying. It's simply invincible. The four heavenly kings instantly killed the 7 gods, and the origin god killed the 4 heavenly kings in one move. This, my god, his strength is already unimaginable. Is that really a human? How can a human be so strong? His physical body isn't complete yet, so how can he have such terrifying battle strength? Without a doubt, he's not a human. Shuang Ling took a deep breath. Although she was stronger than before, when she saw Brother Du Kuang's sword, Shuang Ling knew that she had to work harder to surpass him. Beishui Gufei kept shaking his head. Nameless, can't you give me a chance? He pulled Lu Yi's hand. Can you talk to your brother and change the condition? Any condition is fine. Lu Yi saw that her brother had killed the 4 heavenly kings and finally heaved a sigh of relief. She smiled. Then you can talk to my brother yourself. After speaking, Lu Yi turned her head and looked at her brother's back. Her eyes were filled with pride, relief, and joy. Brother, you're really strong now. However, right at this moment, Lu Chen staggered a step. Then, he spat out a mouthful of blood. Perhaps some people thought that solipsistic's injuries weren't serious, but immediately after, Lu Chen knelt on one knee and kept spitting out blood. Large mouthfuls of blood could not be stopped. Everyone's hearts, which had just been put at ease, were now in their throats again. Brother! Lu Yi's eyes reddened. He was fine just now. How could Dongfangji frowned? It must be that move just now. That move, heaven-piercing sword, is indeed powerful, but without using soul body as one, it also caused a terrifying amount of pressure on his physical body. That's right. We've only seen the power of a heaven-piercing sword, but we've forgotten how terrifying the burden on Mad God's body is. He even lost an arm. Why did he avoid using soul body as one? Mad God, that guy will definitely come out? Xing Chen said anxiously. In the crowd, Ergo looked at this scene in shock and suddenly couldn't help but cry. Ergo! Luo Yao held Ergo's shoulder. Ergo looked at Luo Yao with tears in his eyes. Jade Emperor, he is the origin god, he is the origin god. Luo Yao didn't understand what Ergo meant. What? He didn't use soul body as one, he used his real body. He is telling us that even if he uses his real body to cultivate, he can still be so powerful. Luo Yao suddenly woke up. He looked behind him. Countless natives were already in tears. Yes, others might not understand why solipsistic would rather be severely injured than use soul body as one, but those who were familiar with Lu Chen knew that Lu Chen had an even more powerful skill, Divine Demon Heaven's Wrath. However, he didn't use anything and only used his real body to fight. Even if he had the origin god's token and fought for the natives, he was still an immortal cultivator. This was an unchangeable fact. However, at this moment, he had truly become the origin god, with the body of a mortal, heaven-piercing sword. Chapter 888. Perhaps the cultivators did not understand, but the Aborigines did. Dripping water could penetrate stone, willow leaves could break meridians, and weak grass could split stone. This sentence was not for the dying torch dragon, but for the aborigines. Ergo clenched his fists tightly. He looked at the solipsistic and coughed violently. Every sound seemed to hit his young heart. Tears flowed uncontrollably, but his eyes were wide open. Before, the solipsistic only fought in the name of the origin god, but now, in the hearts of the aborigines, he was the real origin god. Origin god, thank you for everything you've done for us. Someone in the crowd said in a choked voice. Origin god. Ergo suddenly shouted at the top of his lungs, don't die. Kill the demonic beast supreme. Origin god. Kill the demonic beast supreme. Origin god. The aborigines roared louder and louder. The aborigines, who had been oppressed for thousands of years, erupted with an imposing aura at this moment. Even the demonic beast army and the immortal cultivator army could not help but be shocked. Their dead hope had returned. Thousands of years of oppression had all erupted at this moment. Luo Yao's eyes were already wet. She looked at the somewhat tired back and felt like a knife was being twisted in her heart. At this time, he still wanted to rekindle the aborigines' confidence? The surrounding cheers finally made Luo Yao understand. Although he could make people cry, but it was this guy who could make people's blood boil. Luo Yao wiped away her tears and picked up the red ribbon in her hand. She smoothed out her soft hair with both hands and tied it with the red ribbon. Thank you for your gift, I like it very much. Luo Yao looked at Lu Chen's back with tears in her eyes. His blood dyed the ground in front of her red. Luo Yao's tears flowed uncontrollably. Nameless, you must live on and see if the red ribbon looks good on my head. Lu Chen held his chest, feeling like his body was about to fall apart. Little Green, a purple-clothed woman, appeared beside Lu Chen. This set of clothes was newly bought for her by Lu Chen. Boss, quickly eat this blood-solidifying pill. Lu Yi helped Lu Chen up, her heart aching. Fortunately, I have you. Lu Chen forced a smile and swallowed the pill. I'm fine. You can go back. That guy should be here soon. Lu Yi's eyes were full of reluctance, but now was not the time to delay. She could only hold back her words. The grade of the bone-blood pill was very high. After all, it was made by Lu Yi and it was for Boss. It definitely wouldn't be bad. Lu Chen immediately felt better. I've vomited so much blood. I'll have to replenish my body when I get back. Lu Chen shook his head and continued walking toward the magical beast army. He heard the shouts behind him. Lu Chen smiled. He had finally fulfilled his promise to the origin god. Little Furball's battle was probably about to end. There was only one thing left. Lu Chen was seriously injured and vomiting blood. His limbs were also badly damaged. However, with every step he took, the magical beast army in front of him had to take a step back. The 7 magical beast generals were all staring at Lu Chen. The magical beast army of millions was on high alert. Lu Chen was also depressed. He had walked dozens of steps, but he still hadn't closed the distance between him and the magical beast army. What was going on? Should he fight or not? What kind of tactic was this? Was he trying to kill himself? He finally stopped. The magical beast army also stopped. Lu Chen finally understood. They were waiting for that guy. Magical Beast King, are you still not coming out? Lu Chen shook his head. It's time to end the matter between us. Not long after reaching the 5th heaven, Lu Chen released the Magical Beast King. It could be said that from the beginning to the end, the fate of Lu Chen and the Magical Beast King that he had only met once was tightly intertwined. Now it was time to end it. At this moment, in the sky behind the Magical Beast army, dark clouds rolled, lightning flashed, thunder rumbled, and the wind howled. Seeing this, Lu Chen narrowed his eyes slightly. If he guessed correctly, the Magical Beast King hadn't appeared before because it hadn't evolved to its complete form. However, if he hadn't appeared, the 4 heavenly kings of the magical beast army would have been enough to conquer the East Peak Plains. However, now that there was a strange phenomenon in the sky, it looked like that guy was about to appear. As expected, a gust of wind soon swept over the battlefield. Dark clouds gathered overhead, and bolts of lightning streaked across the sky. A huge black shadow suddenly appeared in the distant sky. It shuttled through the lightning and galloped in the storm. Roar! A roar resounded through the sky. Little Beast God and the rest had already taken care of 3 war gods. The remaining 2 were also seriously injured. Hearing the roar from behind, Little Beast God ignored the opponents in front of him and turned to look at the sky. Like an expert who was provoked, Little Beast God also faced the sky and let out a roar. Although Little Beast God looked like a teenager, his roar was not inferior to that guy in the distance. At the same time, the afterimages of 3 mythological beasts appeared on his body, making him look like a king descending with an astonishing momentum. Lu Chun turned to look at Little Beast God. The roar of the magical beast king seemed to have angered Little Beast God. This guy seemed to be very angry. However, Little Beast God was still too young. It was still too early for him to deal with the magical beast king. Little Beast, I asked you to kill the 7 gods. Have you done it? Lu Chen asked. Lu Chen's words silenced Little Beast God. He could only lower his head and vent his anger on Yu Gui. This child is so worrisome. Lu Chen shook his head. Not long after, the huge black shadow arrived in front of the magical beast army. It was in the shape of a huge dragon, but it had a pair of huge wings. It was the legendary divine beast Yinglong. As it landed, its huge body shrunk at the same time. When its feet touched the ground, it had already turned into the shape of a man. Seeing this man, Lu Chen was stunned for a moment. He only felt that he looked very familiar. After thinking carefully, he remembered. Magical Beast King's current appearance was the appearance of the fallen scattered immortal under the heavenly lake. At that time, when Lu Chen touched the scattered immortal's body, it turned into powder and disappeared with the water. Even if it had been soaked in the water for many years, the first thing to rot should be the flesh, and finally the bones. At that time, Lu Chen only thought that this guy was a scattered immortal, so maybe it was different. However, after thinking about it carefully, there seemed to be another possibility. Magical Beast King had already eaten the scattered immortal's flesh and bones? Solipsistic, we finally meet again, Magical Beast King said with a smile. It seemed that the death of the 4 heavenly kings had no effect on him at all. It's a pity that you seem to have suffered serious internal injuries. Otherwise, I would like to experience your heaven-piercing sword. Magical Beast King was not the least bit flustered. There was a hint of regret in his eyes. TSK, TSK, TSK. It's rare to see a move that can make me look forward to it. In the end, you can't use it. What a pity. Lu Chen stared at Magical Beast King. Sure enough, the moment this fellow appeared, the feeling he gave him was, this guy was very strong. Chapter 889. In the center of the battlefield stood the 2 strongest level 5 experts. Although this was not the first time they had seen this scene, the experts of Earth could not help but feel their hearts hanging by a thread. The natives stared at the 2. The previous Origin God did not hesitate to explode his spirit pill to defeat Devil Beast Sovereign. However, 3,000 years later, Devil Beast Sovereign was reborn in an even stronger state. This time, could their new Origin God still win? Someone suddenly said, Origin God is only a 1-star cultivator. Even if he explodes his spirit pill, he should not be able to kill Devil Beast Sovereign. After he finished speaking, the people around him all turned to glare at him. What are you looking at me like? I am just analyzing rationally. Of course I do not wish for Origin God's spirit pill to explode. Shut your crow's mouth. Listen kid, Origin God will definitely win. Yes, Origin God will definitely win. Luo Yao heard more and more natives repeating this sentence behind her. She was very clear that based on the current situation, Solipsistic was at a great disadvantage. It was impossible to say that he would definitely win. However, she could understand why these people said this. This was a kind of belief, an incomparably firm belief. When Sovereign Magical Beast heard the commotion, a relaxed smile appeared on his face. He then turned to Lu Chen and said, "Lone Tyrant, they say that you'll win? That is so cute. I am afraid they cannot understand that in the face of absolute strength, the plot cannot be reversed." Lu Chen smiled. "I agree with this point. That is why you are in my hands. Seems like you are still so confident." Devil Beast Sovereign smiled calmly. He then raised his head and took a deep breath. His face was filled with intoxication. 3,000 years. Coming back here again, the air is so fresh. How nice, this is my heaven. A large number of my kind worship me as king. There is also endless food to enjoy. Compared to spirit stones, I still prefer your bodies. Suddenly, Devil Beast Sovereign stopped smiling. His gaze was sharp. 3,000 years ago, Tai Xing actually used his spirit pill to explode and seriously injured me. He even tried to use the Heavenly Lake spirit vein to destroy my body. Unfortunately, he definitely did not expect that I did not die. Not only am I not dead, but I've also absorbed spiritual energy from the Heaven Lake's spirit vein. Once I become stronger, I'll even be able to kill a loose celestial. After my second death, my body was strengthened by the Heaven Lake's spiritual vein again. However, I could no longer break free from the Heaven Lake's spiritual vein's restraint. I almost became a part of the spiritual vein. 3,000 years, 3,000 years. It was the origin god who trapped me under the sunless Heavenly Lake. For the past 3,000 years, there hasn't been a moment when I haven't wanted to kill Origin God. What a pity that he's already dead. Every time I think about this, I'm about to go mad. But fortunately you appeared. Not only have you saved me, you have also become the new Origin God. Ha 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 ha, do you know? You are simply sent by the heavens to save me. You are here to make up for all my regrets. A cruel look appeared in the eyes of the Devil Beast Sovereign. Don't worry. Whether it's you or the natives, I'll treat you well. I will make you suffer the same torment as I did. Lu Chen looked coldly at the Devil Beast Sovereign, who was close to going crazy, and said coldly, "Is that so? You really know how to flatter yourself. I'm not familiar with you. Why do you think that I will help you make up for your regrets? Not only do you have regrets, the Origin God didn't completely kill you back then. This is also his regret." After saying that, Lu Chen actually kept the limitless demon god sword, stood up straight, and looked indifferently at the Devil Beast Sovereign. Let me help him finish this unfinished battle. The Devil Beast Sovereign was already excited. Help the Origin God or help me, I'm afraid it's not up to you. Transformation, Stage 2 Divine Beast. The Devil Beast Sovereign's entire body erupted with astonishing spiritual energy. With him as the center, billowing black air waves surged around him. The sky was covered by dark clouds, lightning flashed and thunder roared. In the East Peak grassland, the ground directly split open, and the soil instantly turned black. Heaven and earth were in chaos. This burst of spiritual energy was even more terrifying than the simultaneous transformation of the four heavenly kings. The fierce wind already made people unable to open their eyes. The Devil Beast Sovereign was like the strongest king in the world, ruling over the world. On a slope far away, Xianzhen was already dumbstruck when he saw this scene. My God, Stage 2 Divine Beast's body. Why is that fellow still in the 5th layer of heaven? With this kind of strength, he would have already gone to the 6th layer of heaven. Living Buddha's voice also sounded weak. He is doing it for revenge. The revenge of being defeated by the Origin God 3,000 years ago. No wonder he has the strength to defeat a loose immortal. He is already a stage 2 divine beast. It's over, these fifth layer of heaven are hopeless. Solipsistic had already suffered a backlash from the heaven-piercing sword earlier. His physical body was heavily injured. Now that he has activated soul body as one, his battle power will also be greatly reduced. Moreover, even if he is in his peak state, he will definitely not be able to defeat a stage 2 divine beast. Senior Living Buddha, is there really no chance of winning? Didn't you say that the stars have shifted and the constellation has changed? Living Buddha sighed. It has changed, but from the looks of it now, it seems to be even worse than before. A stage 2 divine beast with a heart filled with hatred will turn the entire fifth layer of heaven into hell. Xianzhen was still unresigned. Solipsistic, can Solipsistic still win? Is it not him who caused this change? I also do not know. Maybe it is him, maybe it is not him. But now it is no longer important. The change might not be a turning point, it might be even worse. You have also seen it for yourself. Under this kind of situation, do you still think there is a chance of winning? Let's go, Devil Beast Sovereign is going to start a massacre soon. I do not want to die under his resonance. Resonance? Will I die very miserably? And, since the birth of the 7 gods, they have already confirmed that those corpses in the Spirit Stone Mine are the work of Devil Beast Sovereign. It is said that Devil Beast Sovereign can control the frequency of resonance. When it is fast, the enemy's internal organs will instantly explode. When it is slow, you can clearly feel the internal organs and bones breaking inch by inch. In short, that is not a pain that ordinary people can endure. Even if I kill myself, I do not want to die like that. Xianzhen stared blankly at that somewhat frail and incomplete back view. Even if no one thought that he could win, he was still standing in front of Devil Beast Sovereign, not moving an inch. He had already used heaven-piercing sword. His eyes were injured and his limbs were badly damaged. And the one he was facing was a super expert who had been strengthened by Heaven Lake Spiritual Vein twice, a stage 2 divine beast, Devil Beast Sovereign. Under this kind of situation, victory was already an extravagant hope. Now would he feel fear? Senior Living Buddha, I do not want to go. Xianzhen suddenly said in a deep voice, dying early or dying late, what difference does it make? You actually did not listen to me? Senior Living Buddha, I am just tired. Along the way, we have tried our best to decipher the prophecy, but in the end. But that person, no matter what kind of situation he is facing, he dares to move forward. I do not have his strength, but I admire his courage. Since he is going to die anyway, let me see him finish this last battle. Chapter 890. Watching as the autarch demonic beast completed its transformation, Lu Chen also made his move. Is he about to use soul-body fusion? Everyone stared at Lu Chen nervously. In the entire fifth layer of heaven, the number of people who had seen Lu Chen's soul-body fusion could be counted on one hand, except for the destroyed Azure Dragon sect. However, this time, Lu Chen still did not use soul-body fusion. It was as if he had forgotten that he was an immortal cultivator. Could it be that move? Xiao Yaofeng was nervous again. Although it was not soul-body fusion, Mad God still had another move that was equally terrifying. God and Devil Heaven's Wrath. Lu Chen shouted. Devil Heaven's Wrath. Many of the immortal cultivators present felt their attributes drop a little. Although it was only a little and almost negligible, the next weakened state almost made them collapse. Damn, in 3 days, my body and battle soul's attributes will drop by 90%? Hey, why did he use a skill? My attributes are going to drop. This is his Heaven's Wrath skill? Although I also hope that he will win, but this is too much. Of course, there were also some experts who were not affected. It should be because their Heaven's Wrath had reached level 4. However, these people were in the minority. At the same time, Lu Chun directly activated heaven's wrath. Original God needs our attributes. I am willing to give them all to him. Since none of us can defeat him, I am willing to contribute all my attributes. Unsurprisingly, the natives were willing to provide him with heaven's wrath. 2 million attributes. The all-creation bloodline increased his attributes by 10%. Close to 5 million attributes, all added to spiritual energy. The huge change in spiritual energy caused Lu Chen's body to erupt with a terrifying spiritual energy storm, crazily surging outwards. Heaven's wrath and devil heaven's wrath? You have dual heaven's wrath? Devil Beast Supreme narrowed his eyes, using other people's attributes for my own use. This heaven's wrath is a little interesting. Unfortunately, you still have to die. Devil Beast Supreme shouted and then opened his arms. I don't want to waste any more time on you. Next, feel the gift that I have specially prepared for you. Stardust Resonance. The group of people almost vomited blood. They had never expected that the magical beast sovereign would use Stardust Resonance as soon as he made his move. In an instant, with the magical beast sovereign as the center, the earth and stones in the vicinity crumbled into powder, while the plants were instantly disintegrated into ashes. The ground beneath his feet directly collapsed. Before the crushed stones could fall, they had already turned into ashes and were swept up by the strong winds. The magical beast sovereign floated in midair, looking down at Lu Chen and laughed wildly. Ha 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 ha, have you felt the power of a god? You may be the solipsistic emperor, but in this world, I am the supreme being. Right now, the range of the Stardust Resonance was still gathered around the magical beast sovereign. He seemed to be deliberately showing off. Your predecessor was nearly killed by this move of mine. Right now, my Heaven and Earth Resonance has already advanced to Stardust Resonance. No matter how strong you are, no matter how many layers of heavens might you have, in front of me, the result will be the same. Die a horrible death. So what if there are hundreds of millions of immortal cultivators? I can slaughter tens of millions in one move. Solipsistic, what happened to protecting the natives? Even if you can hold on, can they? Now, you are going to die with them. Resonance open. The immortal cultivator army had already gone crazy. The Heaven and Earth Resonance mentioned by the 7 gods only had a range of 10 miles, but now, the magical beast sovereign's Heaven and Earth Resonance had already advanced. One person could slaughter tens of millions. What kind of concept was this? Quick, run. It's over. No one can stop him. Retreat. Many people had already frantically retreated. However, right at this moment, with a boom, the range of the Stardust Resonance instantly expanded outwards. The speed was so fast that it was comparable to displacement. The first to bear the brunt of it was the native army. However, none of the natives ran away. We can't run. If we run, what will happen to the Origin God? Although we can't do anything, I will definitely not leave the Origin God alone. What is there to fear about death? We might as well have died in the past. Origin God, open soul body as one. If you don't open it now, you will die. Luo Yao was also extremely nervous. This guy still hadn't opened soul body as one and strengthened his body. In any case, he could withstand the damage of the Stardust Resonance. Right at this moment, Lu Chun finally moved. Chaos Spiritual Pill. The fierce wind lifted his white hair. Lu Chun slightly closed his eyes and waved one hand. The Stardust Resonance spiritual force that swept over directly was unable to move an inch forward. Even the Stardust Resonance that had already pounced towards the natives and the cultivator army suddenly stopped. What is going on? Magical Beast Sovereign looked at this scene in horror. His Stardust Resonance had failed. Such a large range attack had been stopped by that guy with a casual wave of his hand? Impossible. I don't believe it. Stardust Resonance. Magical Beast Sovereign used his skill again. However, this time, Lu Chen didn't even raise his hand. The stardust resonance only traveled a few meters before it lost its effect. The Magical Beast Sovereign was already dumbstruck. He opened his mouth several times, but couldn't utter a single word. Lu Chen had once asked the Origin God how to break Magical Beast Sovereign's resonance. At that time, the Origin God had said that unless one mastered a state stronger than resonance, it would be impossible to break it. Therefore, Magical Beast Sovereign had enough confidence to rely on this move to kill Lu Chen and tens of millions of enemy troops. Is it very strange? Lu Chen opened his eyes and looked indifferently at the panicked Magical Beast Sovereign. Since I knew that you would appear sooner or later, do you think I would be stupid enough to use my strongest skill to greet your little brothers? The Supreme Magical Beast panicked. His expression was uncertain. Your heaven-cleaving sword, isn't that your strongest technique? Lu Chen smiled but didn't say anything. Magical Beast Sovereign panicked even more. The other party had tacitly agreed. What kind of state skill is this? The corner of Lu Chen's mouth raised slightly as he walked step by step towards Magical Beast Sovereign. The Origin God told me that he was injured by your resonance. Therefore, if I want to kill you, the key is to deal with your resonance. Lu Chen had cultivated in the God of Illusion for half a year, but he almost didn't spend time practicing Formless and Heaven-breaking Sword. Instead, he had been in a state of enlightenment. Spiritual energy, selflessness, and the Big Dipper formation modified by the dual pole pearl in the primitive world of the heavenly star. At the beginning of heaven and earth, all things were born. All things in the world, from nothing to something, from chaos to order. Yin and Yang were born and turned each other. When they were separated, they gave birth to two elements, and when they were combined, they returned to infinity. So, unfortunately, I also figured out my own status skill. Lu Chen slowly walked towards Sovereign Magical Beast. Furthermore, what's even more unfortunate is that my status skill seems to be better than your stardust or resonance of the heavens and earth. Sigh, I don't care anymore. In any case, it's just a little stronger than that resonance of the heavens and earth. Magical Beast Sovereign's eyes were about to split open, full of fear. This guy still had a trick up his sleeve, and it was a state skill that was even stronger than his resonance? Impossible. The prerequisite for comprehending the state of enlightenment is to master spiritual energy. It's impossible for you to master spiritual energy. Lu Chen stood in front of Magical Beast Sovereign. His gaze passed through Magical Beast Sovereign and looked at the Magical Beast army behind him. If you say it's impossible, then it's impossible. Speaking of which, just now you wanted to kill my people? The more Lu Chen said this, the more uncertain Magical Beast Sovereign was. He looked at Lu Chen in horror. What state did you comprehend? Lu Chen smiled slightly. I gave it a name that doesn't sound very nice. After saying that, Lu Chen's eyes suddenly burst with endless killing intent. He raised one hand. Go to hell with your Magical Beast army. Then, he shouted two words. Creation. Chapter 891. Dozens of infinite divinity and demon swords suddenly pierced out beside Devil Beast Sovereign. After being strengthened twice by the Heavenly Lake Spirit Vein, as a level 2 divine beast, Lu Chen knew that it was difficult for ordinary weapons to penetrate his skin and flesh. Fortunately, he had the infinite divinity and demon swords. In the area in front of Lu Chen, a large number of infinite divinity and demon swords kept splitting out. These swords appeared at any time, anywhere, without any warning, and were difficult to defend against. Devil Beast Sovereign widened his eyes and used Body Shuttle several times. However, no matter how he changed his position, a large number of infinite divinity and demon swords would always appear beside him. Lu Chen's world creation had not reached the level of creating a world. After all, he had only cultivated for half a year. What he could do now was to use chaos spiritual energy as raw materials in the target area and with some items in his possession to create a large number of clones. However, this was already a very terrifying effect. Infinite clones of infinite divinity and demon swords. Even someone as strong as Winged Dragon was finally tired of dealing with them. Don't think you can kill me with this move. Winged Dragon was furious, but he had no time to split himself. He could only frantically change his position. Now, he could not stay for a moment. Gradually, the number of clones around him increased, and their attacks became more and more fierce. Some of the attacks almost brushed past Winged Dragon's body. Is it possible that your world creation can be done endlessly? I don't believe it. Your spiritual energy should not be able to hold on. Winged Dragon was still desperately dodging. Lu Chen stood in place. He was still pouring spiritual energy into this area. 500,000 spiritual energy, 800,000 spiritual energy, 1 million spiritual energy, 2 million spiritual energy. With the infusion of spiritual energy, this area finally formed a self-sufficient system. After the clones of infinite divinity and demon swords were dodged, they were broken down again and quickly created new clones. If they were dodged again, they would break down again and create new clones. Yin and Yang were born and turned, and could be separated and combined. Damn it! It's not over. Winged Dragon roared and pulled out a steel claw. He slashed at one of the clones of infinite divinity, and after that sword was hit, it actually split into two. Infinite divinity gave birth to Taiji, and Taiji gave birth to Yin and Yang. In this place, one could become two. And Lu Chen continued to pour spiritual energy. 3 million spiritual energy points, corresponding to a huge amount of spiritual energy, all poured into this area. The number of clones of the limitless Fiend God sword increased from dozens to hundreds, to thousands, to tens of thousands. These swords could only be dodged and not defended. Otherwise, they would be split into two. At this moment, the power of Genesis was truly displayed. In this small world, as long as one was trapped in it, they would not rest until they died. Dragon blood awakening. Yinglong's body erupted with violent spiritual energy. Behind him, there was a huge dragon shadow. Although it blocked a large number of attacks from the Wuji sword, the Wuji sword quickly reformed. It ignored everything and continued to attack. That afterimage became weaker and weaker as it was assimilated and absorbed by the surrounding chaotic spiritual energy. Impossible! Heavenly Dragon Roar. Stardust Resonance. Dragon of the Nine Realms. 9 Dragons Doppelganger. Winged Dragon really had a lot of trump cards. He was constantly using a large number of terrifying skills. However, to the godly demon Limitless Sword clone, there was no difference whether he used a skill or not. If they dared to block, they would split into two. If they dared to dodge, they would quickly rebuild themselves. Some of the skills would be assimilated and absorbed by the surrounding chaotic spiritual energy. Although it was not effective for all skills, as long as it absorbed a little, it would make Yinglong more passive. 10 minutes later, Yinglong had used all of his skills. His body was already covered in wounds. If the Genesis domain was a formation, the winged serpent would have long deciphered it. However, there was no formation core in the Genesis domain. This world seemed to be attached to him. No matter how he dodged, he could not escape from this small world. At this moment, Yinglong felt a sense of déjà vu. For 3,000 years, he was trapped in the heavenly lake spirit vein. Even if his physical body kept getting stronger, he still could not escape. At this moment, he seemed to have returned to the heavenly lake spirit vein. Resisting would only make the attack stronger. He had to keep moving and dodging. At this moment, he suddenly heard a voice. Demonic Beast Sovereign, give up. This place has already become one. Their attacks will not stop until you die. No, I don't believe it. If I can escape from the heavenly lake spirit vein, I can escape from this damn enchantment. This is not an enchantment. I don't care. Whether it is an enchantment, an array, a domain, or a space created by you. There is nothing that can trap me. Puff, puff, puff. A few godly demon limitless swords pierced demonic beast sovereign's body. However, his recovery ability was extremely shocking. His wounds healed quickly, as expected of a level 2 divine beast's body. Even the godly demon limitless sword clone could not completely injure him. Perhaps only the heaven-piercing sword could kill him. I don't believe in fate, and I don't believe in you. Yinglong's face was ferocious. His eyes were about to pop out of their sockets as he frantically dodged a large number of limitless swords. Lu Chen was slightly stunned. Not believing in fate. Speaking of which, it was somewhat similar to him. 10 minutes later, Yinglong was already somewhat exhausted. However, he was still dodging the attacks with all his might. One after another, the limitless swords slashed his body again and again. Finally, after a large number of attacks, Yinglong's recovery slowed down. His human skin was quickly cut open, revealing an even larger Yinglong's body. At this moment, his body was already riddled with holes and blood flowed non-stop. The more it was like this, the harder it was for him to dodge all the attacks. Gradually, more and more wounds appeared on his body. Suddenly, with a loud boom, Yinglong's 4 front legs fell to the ground and he fell. Countless godly demon limitless sword clones rushed towards Yinglong. Yinglong was already powerless to resist. He did not care about those godly demon limitless sword clones. He only turned his head and looked at Lu Chen with a pair of tired eyes. You said that this space is now a separate entity. Then you can't come in. I can injure you with these swords, but to kill me, that is impossible. Since I can escape from the heavenly lake spirit vein, sooner or later, I will also escape from here. Lu Chen looked indifferently at Yinglong's mangled body. He narrowed his eyes and let out a long sigh. They were indeed enemies. It was either you die or I die. There was no way to change that. However, they were so similar in some aspects. They were equally strong, equally unyielding. With a sigh, Lu Chen raised his head and looked at Yinglong. Since this space was created by me, I can naturally remove it. Oh well, I will send you the last part. After saying that, Lu Chen kept Genesis. At the same time, he activated Soul Body as one. He finally activated Soul Body as one. Luo Yao was so anxious that she was about to cry, and this was under the condition that he had already subdued Yinglong. It was completely an act of drawing legs on a snake. The sword rose, the wind rose, the clouds surged, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Didn't you say that it was a pity that you couldn't withstand my heaven-piercing sword? Consider this my strongest sword strike to make up for your regret. Lu Chen narrowed his eyes and grabbed the godly demon limitless sword with one hand. He roared, "Heaven-piercing sword!" Chapter 892. Lu Chen had said that he would leave the fusion of his soul and body for Magical Beast Sovereign. At this moment, everything finally came to an end with that dazzling white light. Standing behind Magical Beast Sovereign, Lu Chen turned around and looked at Magical Beast Sovereign with an expressionless face. It's over. The unwillingness on Magical Beast Sovereign's face faded at this moment. In any case, Solipsistic did not use any rubbish technique to kill it. In any case, I died under your strongest sword, to be able to evolve into a rank 2 divine beast at the 5th layer of heaven, who could say that Magical Beast Sovereign did not defy the heavens and change its fate all the way to this day. I have cultivated for thousands of years, but I am not a match for your creation sword and heaven-breaking sword, Lu Chen said indifferently. If not for these 2 moves, I would not have been able to win against you. What if you were at your peak? Magical Beast Sovereign's huge eyes looked at Lu Chen expectantly. At my peak? If I did not have a broken arm and internal injuries, and fought Winged Dragon in my peak state, what would the result be? Lu Chen said indifferently. I would not have been able to win. Winged Dragon seemed to feel gratified when it heard this answer. At least before it died, it gained the recognition of its opponent. However, Magical Beast Sovereign laughed again. Ha 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 ha, cough cough, ha 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 ha. Origin God, you are wrong. Actually, even without these two moves, you might not have lost. You and I are similar in some areas, but we are not completely the same. I am not willing to lose, but you have a reason to win. After saying this, Magical Beast Sovereign's eyes turned towards the natives. I really regret that I didn't kill you at the bottom of the heavenly lake back then. Devil Beast Sovereign said powerlessly. Even now, he was still unwilling to admit defeat. Who would have thought that a one-star field cultivator would actually change the fate of the entire fifth heavenly layer? Solipsistic, actually, you are not arrogant at all. Magical Beast Sovereign's chest exploded, and its spiritual core shattered. Magical Beast Sovereign finally closed its eyes. Magical Beast Sovereign died in battle. The entire army of natives was in an uproar at this moment, bursting into cheers. Origin God won, Origin God won. He is our Origin God. The Origin God won. Ergo excitedly pulled Luo Yao's hand. Jade Empress, Origin God won. He won. If it was in the past, Luo Yao would probably have shouted at this dirty little brat to leave. But now, Luo Yao looked at Ergo with a smile. Yes, he won. He has never disappointed anyone. Raising her head, Luo Yao looked at the back of the figure, her eyes filled with surprise. He's the one in a million. The shock of the cultivator army was no less than that of the natives. A level 2 divine beast. That fellow, his strength has already surpassed that of a loose immortal. A one-star great cultivator killed the 4 heavenly kings in 1 move and the supreme magical beast in 2 moves. My God, how can there be such a freak? Senior brother, is it true that cultivators or wild cultivators are stronger? A newcomer asked the senior beside him with a puzzled expression. This? Maybe. I don't know either. It shouldn't be. Xianzhen stood at a faraway slope. The excitement in his heart was indescribable. He did not stop talking. Senior Living Buddha, did you see that? Solipsistic one. That fellow one. My God, how can that fellow's strength be so strong? If I had known earlier, I would have really let Xianlan marry him. It has only been a few years and he actually created his own Genesis technique? Living Buddha, did you see that? That fellow actually did not use soul-body fusion all the way? This fellow is really crazy to the point of no bounds. This is really too exciting. If I had such strength, I would be able to do whatever I want in the entire 5th heaven. Living Buddha really wanted to check the astrology again. But he was helpless. This fellow's mouth was like a machine gun. A senior instantly became a fanboy. Moreover, this fellow kept praising Solipsistic over and over again. It made him feel like he was being slapped in the face. He was the one who would rather have thought highly of Luo Qin than Solipsistic back then. Now, looking at the performance of the two, it was really the difference between heaven and earth. The only consolation was that Solipsistic really won. Can't you stop for a moment? Living Buddha really could not bear it and stopped Xianzhen, who almost lost his mind. Self-created technique? He still does not have such strength now. He comprehended it from the 5 great spirit veins. What kind of place are the 5 spirit veins? Even the Paragon Devil Beast's power came from a heavenly lake spirit vein. That kid comprehended the heaven-severing sword and Genesis sword from one of the 5 spirit veins. Is defeating the Paragon Devil Beast that strange? But the 5 great spirit veins have always been there. I have not seen anyone comprehending these 2 techniques for so many years. Xianzhen said somewhat unconvinced. Hey you brat, Sai, forget it. I am too lazy to argue with you. After saying that, Living Buddha looked at the battlefield and slightly narrowed his eyes. He muttered to himself, however, it is somewhat strange. Sovereign magical beast is already dead. That fellow's dead not, why hasn't it been solved yet? Victory did not bring much joy. Lu Chen looked at the dead sovereign magical beast and thought of the king of monsters. Under the Jiutian, there were people who were willing to submit to fate, and there were also people who were unwilling to be manipulated by fate. Speaking of which, he was not an immortal cultivator, nor was he an aboriginal. Instead, he was more like the king of monsters and sovereign magical beast. Sovereign magical beast's last sentence confirmed the saying, perhaps the enemy is the one who understands you the most. Raising his head, Lu Chen looked at the 10 million magical beast army. The 7 magical beast generals were so frightened that they took a few steps back. However, at this time, the killing intent in Lu Chen's eyes had dissipated. He slightly narrowed his eyes and looked at the 7 magical beast generals. 7 of you sign a soul contract. The magical beast army will return to the magical beast lair and will not invade the 7 nations for 1,000 years. The 7 magical beast generals looked at each other. At this time, they were like a group of dragons without a leader. Moreover, there was such a murderous god. If they were to fight again, they would undoubtedly have no chance of winning. Solipsistic did not kill them. In fact, he was giving them a way out. The 7 magical beast generals finally walked forward and knelt in front of Lu Chen. They bowed and said, "We are willing to sign the soul contract." The 7 magical beast generals all knelt in front of Lu Chen. This scene could not help but make people stare. Lu Chen nodded. "You all go back first. I will personally go to the magical beast lair to take your soul contracts." The 6 magical beast generals stood up and faced Lu Chen. They retreated into the army. Only a 9-headed fire dragon was still standing in front of Lu Chen. Lu Chen slightly narrowed his eyes. "You are still not leaving?" The fire dragon glanced at sovereign magical beast's corpse. After hesitating for a while, it said, "Origin deity, can you allow me to bring back the corpses of sovereign magical beast and the 4 heavenly kings?" Sovereign magical beast's corpse was definitely a huge fortune. Even if the beast core was broken, it could still replenish a large amount of spiritual energy for the little beast. "Origin deity, if you can allow me to bring back their corpses, my dragon-type magical beast clan is willing to exchange treasures." Dragon-type magical beast? Lu Chen had almost forgotten that these magical beasts all had a prefix. They were called dragons by the aboriginals. Chapter 893. Seeing that Lu Chen did not agree directly, the 9-headed dragon said hurriedly, "Origin God, please don't misunderstand. They died for the Beast Clan, and we just want to bury them. Now that our clan has suffered heavy losses, we have no intention to fight for hegemony. If you are still worried, we can leave the beast cores behind and only take the corpses." If they left the beast cores behind, Lu Chen could rest assured. "I'll leave the beast cores behind and you can take the corpses," Lu Chen said calmly. "Thank you, Origin God." The 9-headed dragon ordered people to drag away the corpses of the 4 heavenly kings and the beast sovereign, and gave 5 spirit cores to Lu Chen. "If Origin God comes to the beast lair, I'll give you the soul contracts and treasures." Lu Chen did not comment. The beast sovereign was dead, and the beast army had lost their commander. This battle was meaningless. The 7 beast generals quickly led the army and left the East Peak Plains. At this time, Little Beast and the others had finally completed the task given to them by Lu Chen. Speaking of which, the ancient gods of war had died more miserably than the 4 heavenly kings and the beast sovereign. The 5 ancient gods of war had been injured by the Black Cheelant's eternal darkness. When they encountered the beast god, Little Hairy Ball, and the suboriginator, they were no match for them. Especially when they fell into the hands of Little Hairy Ball, they would not have a good ending. When the aboriginals saw those insufferably arrogant war gods lying on the ground like pools of mud, all of their eyes widened in anger. Their resurrection was at the cost of the lives of the native. In their eyes, the natives were not humans, but tools for their resurrection. In this respect, they were no different from the beasts. Origin God has finally avenged us. It's good that they died. From now on, let's see who still doesn't treat the natives as humans. When the immortal cultivator army saw the solipsistic walking toward them, they remembered that this solipsistic did not represent them in the battle against the beast army. On the whole battlefield, the natives were the only ones who were safe. At this time, 90% of the army was in a weak state and had no combat power. He won't kill us, will he? Maybe he will show mercy for the Jade Emperor's sake. During the Great Divine Demon War, the 7 gods survived while the original god perished. But 3,000 years later, the 7 gods perished and only the original god was left. This is truly a reversal of fortune. His son and his 2 battle pets are already terrifying enough. With him, we're done for. At this time, Lu Chun stood in front of the army of cultivators and said loudly, "From today onwards, except for the Eastern Peak Nation, if any of the other 6 nations dares to bully the indigenous people, I will slaughter them." Upon hearing this, the 6 kings' expressions flickered. Yet, when faced with Lone Tyrant's threat, not a single one of them dared to utter a single word. If it were anyone else, no one would believe that a single person could slaughter an entire country. However, when it was said by Solipsistic, no one doubted it. In addition, the 5 heavens will be redistributed. Redrawing the map, the kings of the 6 states looked at each other in dismay. This was a matter that affected their foundations. That original God, may I ask how the map will be divided? The king of the Grand Wilderness asked carefully. "Wait for my notice," Lu Chun said indifferently, then looked at everyone. "What, do you have any objections to my redrawing of the map?" Not only did they have objections, they had great objections. However, the 6 kings all saw the same expression in each other's eyes. They could only hold back their objections. Everything will be decided by the original God. We have no objections. Lu Chun nodded in satisfaction. Gu Fei shook his head and sighed. He's too domineering. Those kings are so scared of your brother that they don't even dare to fart. Your brother is too awesome. No matter how many strong people there are, he's always the strongest one. Lu Yi's face was full of pride. Of course, he's my brother. Yanran didn't think so. Gu Fei, you speak as if this is the first day you know him. He's already being merciful by not killing more kings this time. Dongfeng Ji sighed. That guy, the only thing you can hope for is to stand on the same side as him. Luckily, we're friends with him. The war ended, and the kings of the various countries were still waiting for the original god's final notice in the East Peak Nation. The 5th heaven was about to redraw the map, but no one knew the final result. At this moment, Luo Yao received news that the solipsistic didn't return to the East Peak Nation. After the war ended, he disappeared. Luo Yao had a lot to say to him, but he was nowhere to be seen. He didn't even come to see his fellow countrymen. This guy, he hasn't even fully recovered from his injuries. Can't he not make me worry? Me? The soldier who came to report was stunned. Was this the Jade Emperor? The Jade Emperor never said these 2 words before. In the southern forest of the East Peak Nation, Lu Chun was hurrying along with the little beast. "Little beast, these beast cores are for you." Lu Chun threw a small pouch to the little beast deity. "Father, don't you want to upgrade your all-creation bloodline? You should keep these beast cores for yourself." The little beast deity said. Lu Chun shook his head. "My body is permanently damaged, and the effect of upgrading the all-creation bloodline is not very good. You can use them first." With that, Lu Chun looked back at the little beast deity. "I say, little beast, can you not call me father? If you call me that, I won't be able to find a wife." But father, I only have you as my family. If you don't like me, then I won't have any family left. Lu Chen's eyes widened. This guy is using this trick again. I don't dislike you. Okay, I'll call you father then. But it sounds awkward. Call me father. Okay, father. The little beast immediately became happy. Lu Chen shook his head. It seemed that there was no hope for him to call him father. After finding a place to sit down and rest, Lu Chen took out the reward map of the Fifth Heaven mission. The location shown on the map should be in the West Kingdom, the South Pole, and the Penglai country. Rhubarb, we are already nearby. Can you find a spirit vein mine? Lu Chen called out Rhubarb. Woof, woof, woof. As for the specific location, he would leave it to Rhubarb. After following Rhubarb for a few hours, Lu Chen and the others arrived at a barren mountainous area. The mountains here were steep, the vegetation was sparse, and the land was barren and dry. Judging from the terrain, there should be a rocky layer on the surface, which was not conducive to the growth of crops. Perhaps because of this, there were not many people living here. Spirit stone veins were different from spirit veins. Although spirit stones contained a large amount of spirit energy, it was locked in spirit stones and dissipated very slowly. Therefore, spirit veins were not as abundant as spirit veins. This was the area shown on the map. The area was very large, and almost a quarter of the mountainous area was within the marked area. Facing a 200-meter-tall mountain, Lu Chen took out the limitless demon sword and summoned the soul god cannon. Symbiosis of gods and demons. Tiger descends the mountain, fire suppression. Break for me. Boom, 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 boom. A large number of spiritual cannons bombarded the mountain. After a few rounds of bombardment, the small mountain was directly flattened, revealing a huge pit. Lu Chen walked to the huge pit and looked down. He was immediately ecstatic. This reserve is definitely a rich mine. Chapter 894. The next day, Lu Yi and the rest received a message from a native, asking them to head to the Western Kingdom immediately. Traveling day and night, they arrived at the location designated by Lu Chen after 20 days. At this time, the originally barren mountainous area had changed into a completely different appearance. A large number of natives had already built residences near the mountainous area, and there were also many people digging into the ground, seemingly mining for ores. These natives were often engaged in various kinds of manual labor, so they were more familiar with the steps of mining spirit stones than cultivators. No way, such a large area is a spirit stone mine? Cowherd looked at the scene in front of him in shock. In one of the deep pits, some silver ores could be vaguely seen. It was the spirit stone mine that was currently in short supply in the entire Fifth Heaven. Oh my God, such a large area, whoever mines this spirit stone mine would be as rich as a country. If one cooperates with the talisman masters of the Seven Kingdoms to make a cash extraction scroll, it would not be an exaggeration to say that this mine could create a new country. At this time, a native ran over and greeted everyone. Everyone, please follow me, the Origin God is waiting for you. The few of them looked at each other. The Origin God, other than that fellow, who else could it be? They hurriedly followed that person. At this time, Taishu, Shuer, Ahui and some natives stood beside Lu Chen, looking at the people who were busy exploring the mine. Lu Chen turned his head and saw Lu Yi and the rest. He smiled and greeted them. You guys are here. Brother. Lu Yi happily jumped into Lu Chen's arms. It was interesting to say that the two's game cabin was just next door, but the two siblings had not had a good chat for 2 years. Brat. Cowherd also ran over and punched Lu Chen's shoulder. Old man. Lu Chen laughed. You old bones actually ran to the Fifth Heaven. Who are you looking down on? Actually, it was little Yuan and Lady Shuangling who brought me. I just followed them for a ride. Lu Chen smiled and nodded, looking at Shuangling in the crowd. Nameless brother. Shuang Ling and Shuang Wu walked over together. Shuang Ling's face was slightly red. Are you okay? Your arm. There was no time to catch up on the battlefield. Now that he saw so many old friends, Lu Chun was extremely excited. Let nature take its course. You're all here. Shuang Wu said. Big Brother Mountain Strength and the others have also reached the 4th heavenly layer. They are currently working hard to cultivate. Brother Li is coming to the 5th layer of heaven too? That's great. If there's a chance, I'll wait for them to come up before leaving. Really? Are you not in a hurry to enter the Tower of Babel this time? Lu Chun turned his head to look at the busy scene at the foot of the mountain. There are still some things to take care of here. Not far away, a few travel-worn aborigines were climbing up the slope. When Lu Chun saw them, he hurriedly went up to receive them. Elder Zhang, how's the survey going? These people were all very famous survey experts among the aborigines. They had been surveying the entire mining area these days. Although they looked very tired and their bodies were dirty, they could not hide the excitement in their eyes. Original God, I have participated in the exploration of no less than 20 spirit stone veins. I am sure that this mining area is definitely the largest spirit stone mine in the 5th layer of heaven. Lu Chun smiled slightly. Fortunately, the mission reward was not too bad. Restart the 5th layer of heaven was such an abnormal mission, and the reward was a spirit stone mine. If it was any worse, then he would not accept any more missions in the future. After thinking for a while, Lu Chun said, previously, Magical Beast Sovereign destroyed many spirit stone mines. Not only did it consume a large amount of spirit stone mines, but after the war, they were already short on manpower. It will take a long time to repair the mines. Therefore, I estimate that the price of spirit stone mines is at least 5 times the original price. Elder Zhang nodded heavily. I estimate that it is more than 5 times. The losses caused by the war have almost exhausted the reserves of the 7 countries. Moreover, they don't dare to let the aborigines work for them as they are short on manpower. I estimate that the price of spirit stone mines is at least 7 to 8 times. Another person added, that depends on whether the origin god is willing to sell it or not. Thinking of the various countries lining up to buy spirit stone mines, everyone couldn't help but laugh. It could be seen that these people were happy from the bottom of their hearts. Just like the aborigines who were working, there were no supervisors to supervise them, but their enthusiasm was rising wave after wave. Senior Uncle looked at Lu Chun excitedly. Nameless brother, we aborigines really don't know what to say. Such a spirit stone mine is also an unimaginable wealth for you, but you are willing to give the mining rights and management rights to us. We are really grateful. Lu Chun smiled slightly. In fact, the origin god also helped me a lot. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't have been able to comprehend the Genesis and sky-breaking sword. At this time, Lu Chun called Lu Yi and a group of Earth's powerhouses. Yi, I have already thought about it. I will give the mining rights and management rights of this spirit stone mine to the aborigines and our Earth's United Front Department. As for how to divide it, I will distribute it after the elders give me the specific data. When the time comes, I will go and tell Muhua. The Earth's players widened their eyes. This spirit stone mine was the personal property of the Mad God. In the current situation, just mining and management alone would definitely make a lot of money. There was no doubt that the value of this spirit stone mine could no longer be described with Earth's currency. With this spirit stone mine, the rise of the aborigines and Earth's players was no longer a fantasy. If the guide plan was added, perhaps Earth would usher in the true era of the strong. Brother, what about you? Lu Yi was still afraid that her brother would suffer losses and asked. I don't know how to mine. I will just take a commission. You want to be a hands-off shopkeeper again. Lu Yi saw through the essence of the matter at once. Senior Uncle hurriedly stepped forward. Missy, let your brother be a hands-off shopkeeper. If he doesn't do it, it will be too difficult for us Aborigines to rise. Yes, yes, yes. Origin God, just leave the spirit stone mine to us. We will definitely take care of it properly. Even if you give us 10% of the profits, the elder said. Louis said embarrassedly, Uncle, I am just saying. Anyway, I will support my brother no matter what he says. Lu Chen laughed. There are so many of you. How can 10% be enough? My idea is that you and my hometown will each take 40%. The Aborigines are good at mining. You may have to put in more effort in the early stages of mining, but there are a large number of talisman masters on Earth. In the future, when there are more of them, they will be able to make their own distilling scrolls. You can achieve mutual assistance and develop together. In this way, you will also have a resource. In the future, you can use this as a foundation. In addition, the spiritual energy of the fifth layer has recovered. You can slowly develop. Senior Uncle's eyes widened. 40%? Then, nameless brother, won't you only get 20%? Lu Chen put away his smile and looked into the distance. 20% is enough. The things that the Origin God has taught me are enough. Speaking of the previous Origin God, the Aborigines' eyes could not help but tear up. The person who did not hesitate to sacrifice everything to protect the world of Aborigines would forever be the light that guided them to become stronger. Chapter 895. It would take at least a few months or even half a year from exploration to actual mining. Besides, only spirit stones could be mined from the spirit stone mine, and Lu Chen didn't need spirit stones. To make cash extraction scrolls, he had to wait for a large number of Earth Talisman Masters to come to the fifth heaven. Thinking of the final battle, Lu Chen knew that he couldn't wait that long. He didn't have time to wait for the harvest of the 20% he left behind. Most of it would be left for Lu Yi and his friends, so he didn't care about how much he got. At dinner, Lu Chen was a little drunk after drinking with his friends. Speaking of which, after his physique was enhanced, his alcohol tolerance seemed to have increased as well. Those guys couldn't get Lu Chen drunk. A bunch of rookies want to get me drunk? Humph. Lu Chen sat alone on the hillside and looked at the mine below. It was already night time, but the natives' enthusiasm for work didn't decrease at all. There were lights everywhere and countless figures were still working hard. For them, it was also work, but this time they were working for themselves for the first time. With hope and without hope, their motivation was naturally completely different. Inadvertently, Lu Chen saw a familiar figure not far away. Although he looked small, he was more motivated than anyone else. Ergo? Lu Chen smiled and flashed in front of Ergo. Ergo was waving a hoe and working hard to dig the rocks underground. When he noticed someone behind him, he didn't even turn his head. Okay, I'll go eat when I dig 2 more meters down. Lu Chen smiled. This guy thought that he was the one who urged him to eat. Ergo, Lu Chen called. Ergo suddenly felt like he was electrocuted. He hurriedly turned around and looked at Lu Chen in shock. Original God. Lu Chen smiled and walked over. I have something to give you. Original God. Ergo was at a loss. Lu Chen took out the wheelbarrow that he had been treasuring for a long time. Looking at the 2 wheelbarrows, Ergo suddenly burst into tears. The things in the car were almost untouched. There were clothes and necessities for his mother and Arya. Seeing these, he couldn't stop crying. Lu Chen walked in front of Ergo, helped him sit down and said softly, You know, your family's wheelbarrow helped me a lot. Without it, I might not have been able to come back in time. Really? Ergo didn't believe it. Lu Chen then told him about the few times he had used the wheelbarrow to successfully cross the border. Lu Chen patted Ergo's shoulder and placed his Origin God token in his hand. Ergo, I also have a little sister. I know you must be blaming yourself. You also want to become stronger. This Origin Divine badge was given to me by a good friend, but he's no longer around. Now, I'm giving it to you. If you want to protect the people you care about, you must be strong enough. Ergo carefully took the Origin Divine badge, looked at Lu Chen, and nodded. Origin God, I will definitely become someone as strong as you. I want to protect the people I care about. I want to protect the natives and never let them be bullied again. Lu Chen smiled. A mortal's body can also defy the heavens. Oh, right, I took a few sets of clothes from your luggage for little beast to wear. You're talking about your son. Lu Chen had no choice but to nod. Now, everyone knew that Little Beast was his son. Ergo was very excited. Little Beast had worn his clothes. With such happiness, the sadness from before was diluted, and the little guy suddenly became more talkative. They chatted for a long time. A month later, the mining area had begun to take shape. The elders also gave Lu Chen the complete survey results of the mine. Lu Chen marked out the entire mountainous area, as well as the surrounding areas suitable for living and planting. With the new map, Lu Chen returned to Dongyu Nation. The monarchs of the 7 nations had been waiting for Lu Chen here for more than 2 months, but without Lu Chen's permission, they did not dare to leave. Now that Lu Chen had finally returned, they hurried to the Dongyu Palace. This is the result of the redivision of the 5th heaven. Lu Chen held the map and said to everyone, the Western Kingdom, Penglai Nation, the 4 nations of the Great Wilderness, and Dongyu Nation will each take a part of their territory and establish a new nation here. A nation dominated by the natives. In addition, Baisher Nation, Yumo Nation, and Buzhou Nation will take a part of their territory to supplement the territory of Dongyu Nation. When the monarch of Baisher Nation saw the map, he almost vomited blood. Baisher Nation had taken the most territory. Although Dongyu Nation had also taken a part of their territory, after all, it was close to Lu Chen's mine. But with this compensation, their territory had increased. Origin God, we have no objections to you seeking benefits for the natives. If it weren't for you, the 5th heaven would be gone. But why is Dongyu Nation's territory increasing instead of decreasing, while our 6 nations' territories are decreasing so much? The monarch of Baisher Nation couldn't help but question. That's right, Origin God. Even if you represent the natives, you are still a cultivator. You can't always think of the natives. Suddenly, there was a faint flow of spiritual qi in the Dongyu Palace. In the sealed room, a strong wind began to blow. Everyone looked nervously at Lu Chen. Lu Chen narrowed his eyes and slammed the table, causing it to shatter. Dongyu Nation is the only nation that protects the native. What's wrong with increasing their territory? Don't you remember how you treated the natives before? I'm already being lenient by leaving your territory. Even now, you still want to protect your own interests? Don't push your luck. Lu Chen's gaze swept across the room. The monarch of Baisher Nation, Yumo Nation, and the rest immediately fell silent, not daring to make a sound. In front of this person, all the monarchs and experts didn't dare to talk back. If anyone has a problem with my distribution, I don't mind increasing the territory of the natives. The last sentence sent a chill down everyone's spine. This was the final warning. In other words, the solipsistic emperor would destroy any country that didn't agree with his decision. The monarch of Baisher Nation felt even more guilty. When the solipsistic emperor appeared on the battlefield, the first thing he killed was the Lion King. The solipsistic emperor was right. He was already thankful that he could leave Baisher Nation behind. If he asked for anything else, he would be angering the solipsistic emperor. After weighing the pros and cons, the monarch of Baisher Nation cupped his fists and said to Lu Chen, Origin God, please calm your anger. I didn't know how to appreciate your kindness. We will do it now. Origin God, please calm your anger. We will immediately send the order to redraw the borders. The monarchs of the 6 nations left, leaving only Lu Chen and Luo Yao in the palace. You were a little scary just now, Luo Yao suddenly said. I've never seen you so fierce. The killing intent in Lu Chen's eyes had already faded. He turned and smiled at Luo Yao. You didn't tell me that you were the East Mountain Yao Empress. Otherwise, I wouldn't have given you any roasted meat back then. Luo Yao pursed her lips and held back her laughter. Step by step, she walked towards Lu Chen. Her pair of clear eyes looked straight into Lu Chen's eyes. A faint fragrance wafted over, and the air was filled with ambiguity. Then you won't have the chance to peek at me changing? Lu Chen blinked. Luo Yao still remembered this. Not good. This woman was talking, but why was she getting closer and closer? This posture, this atmosphere, this tone, this gaze. Luo Yao's lips were as tender as strawberries waiting to be plucked. I, Lu Chen, have roamed the pugilistic world for so many years. Could it be that today, I'm finally going to have a beautiful encounter? Dad! The door of the palace was suddenly pushed open. Didn't you say you would come out soon and bring me to buy some clothes? What are you doing? Little Beast God tilted his head and looked at Luo Yao and Lu Chen. Chapter 896. Lu Chen looked at the little beast god beside him, who was jumping around in high spirits and had an innocent look on his face. He really wanted to kick it to death. This was a rare opportunity, but it was ruined by this guy. After casually buying him 2 sets of clothes, Lu Chen could only go to an inn. Tomorrow he would go to the magical beast lair. Standing alone in front of the window, Lu Chen gazed at the distant Dongyu Palace in a daze. The originally ambiguous scene had suddenly turned into a farewell ceremony. Although he was moved by Luo Yao, their statuses had determined that Luo Yao would not challenge the Tower of Babel in the short term, and Lu Chen could not stay in the 5th layer of heaven forever. In fact, Luo Yao was also aware of this point. As the ruler of the Dongyu country, she could not abandon the country and leave with Lu Chen when it was time to rebuild it. Sigh. Lu Chen sighed in melancholy. He was not good at getting along with girls, and now with the addition of the beast god, it seemed that his love life was going to be very bumpy. Forget it, let's talk about it after everything is over. Lu Chen shook his head and returned to the table. Unable to sleep at night, Lu Chen took the little beast god and left Dongyu City under the cover of the night. The magical beast lair was located to the west of the Buzhou country, so Lu Chen brought the little beast god there. Dad, aren't you going to greet Sister Luo Yao? She seems to be very sad. The little beast said. Lu Chen said angrily, You still know that she is sad. Do you know how many years your dad has been waiting for this opportunity? Yet you forcefully ruined it. Dad, you can't blame me for this. I saw that the others have been out for a long time. I was just worried about your safety. What's there to worry about? Are you afraid that Luo Yao will eat me? The little beast lowered its head, looking as if it had made a mistake. Lu Chen shook his head. Since it was already too late, there was no point in scolding the little beast. Forget it, Sai, maybe this is better for her. I will leave sooner or later. Let's go. I still have a lot of things to do. I've been in the 5th layer of heaven for almost 3 years. It's time to go to the 6th layer of heaven. A month later, Lu Chen crossed the Buzhou country and entered the magical beast lair. When Lu Chen stepped into the magical beast lair, a large number of magical beasts rushed out from the surroundings. But when these magical beasts saw Lu Chen, they immediately became docile and stood there, not daring to move. Lu Chen said coldly, Take me to see the 7 magical beast generals. The 7 magical beast generals came out to greet them from afar. With the 9-headed dragon leading the way, the group headed towards the Devil Beast Mountain. Walking on the small path of Devil Beast Mountain, Lu Chen saw a towering pagoda dozens of miles away. It was as if it stood between the heavens and the earth. He couldn't see the top of the pagoda because it was obscured by the clouds. Even though Magical Beast Mountain was the tallest mountain in the area, it was still far inferior to that tower. Lu Chen narrowed his eyes slightly. He couldn't be more familiar with this tower. Tower of Babel. In front of a huge cave halfway up the mountain, the 7 magical beast generals stopped. The 9-headed dragon said, "Lord Origin God, please come in." With that, the 7 magical beast generals transformed into their human forms and led Lu Chen into the cave. "You can transform into human forms too? Lord Origin God, we are only one step away from becoming divine beasts. We can control our body's appearance, but we can't maintain it for long." The 9-headed dragon transformed into a middle-aged man. When he spoke, his expression was a little unnatural. Perhaps he was still not used to his human form. Light came from somewhere deep in the cave, allowing the vision in the tunnel to be unobstructed. Lu Chen followed the 9-headed dragon into a tall and spacious room. This room reminded Lu Chen of the boss's room in the 4th heaven. It was especially spacious and tall. On the walls around the room, there were many drawings of ferocious beasts. Torch dragon, winged dragon, and even the ancestral dragon, black qilin, white skin, soaring snake, white fun, and so on. Every one of them seemed to be alive. Lu Chen suddenly stopped in front of the picture of winged dragon. He touched the wall with his hand and realized that there was spiritual energy flowing slowly in the murals. These murals? Lu Chen looked at the 9-headed dragon in astonishment. "Lord Origin God, they are all painted with their corpses. This is the tradition of our magical beast clan. The dead continue to exist in this way." Lu Chen took a deep breath. This tradition was a little strange. "Where are your soul contracts? Lord Origin God, please come this way." The 9-headed dragon led Lu Chen to a huge stone table in the room and took out 7 dominoes. On each of the dominoes, there was a carving of one of the 7 magical beast generals. 9-headed dragon, 9-eared macaque, 9-winged shark, 9-winged emperor river. Not a single one was missing. This is the soul pact of the 7 beasts. Lord Original God, there are some magical beasts that are not under our jurisdiction. There are also some that are scattered all over the place. If they continue to multiply like this, then we will not be able to completely stop the magical beasts from harming people. What we can guarantee is that within 1,000 years, our magical beast army will not organize any operations to attack the 7 nations. Lu Chen frowned slightly. After thinking for a moment, the magical beasts were also a part of the 5th heaven. The real threat to the 5th heaven was the magical beast army led by the magical beast sovereign. It was reasonable for the other magical beasts to exist in the 5th heaven. Lu Chen said, "Just look after your people. Also, in the future, the 5th heaven will not only be the 7 nations, it should be the 8 nations." The 7 magical beasts immediately picked up their dominoes and made a new oath. Not long after, the contents of the soul contracts were modified. The 7 magical beasts handed their dominoes to Lu Chen. "Lord Origin God, this is our soul contract dominoes. Please sign the contract as soon as possible and destroy the dominoes. Otherwise, if it falls into the hands of others, we Lu Chen naturally understood." "Don't worry." At this moment, 4 Kuei cows carried a huge box into the room. They placed the box in front of Lu Chen and retreated. "Lord Origin God, this is a gift to thank you for letting us bring back the corpses of the sovereign and the 4 heavenly kings. Please take a look." Lu Chen stood up and walked in front of the box. Opening the box, there was a cluster of black crystals inside. The crystal was as long as a person. The cut surface was shining brightly. The whole thing was diamond-shaped, and upon closer inspection, it was made up of many small diamond-shaped crystals. Every small crystal seemed to have liquid flowing in it, making the whole crystal seem to be alive. Lu Chen was a little curious. He placed his hand on the crystal and poured some spirit energy into it. Suddenly, this compact crystal cluster opened. It instantly broke down into small crystals. The distance between them was pulled apart, but it did not completely lose control. When Lu Chen retracted his spirit energy, the small crystals returned to their original state and were tightly embedded together. "What is this?" Lu Qin could not help but ask in surprise. He had never seen such a strange crystal before. "This is a drop of the dragon god's blood." "Dragon god's blood?" Lu Qin looked at the nine-headed dragon in shock. "That's right. The dragon god's blood originates from the strongest dragon god. The fifth heaven magical beasts are all called dragon species because we more or less have the dragon god's blood in our bodies. Every time we die, the dragon god's blood in our bodies will burn a little, stimulating more potential. Although we can recover the concentration of dragon god's blood afterwards, burning the dragon god's blood will cause quite a bit of damage to our bodies. So when we reach our level, we can directly stimulate the potential of the dragon god's blood. The four heavenly kings and Ji Zun can always maintain their strongest state. And if we don't have the dragon god's blood, fusing with this drop of dragon god's blood, the concentration of dragon god's blood in our bodies can even surpass the strength of Ji Zun's blood. Lu Chen's eyes widened. The fifth heaven also has a bloodline? The key is, it's such a strong bloodline right from the start? The dragon god's bloodline. If it's so strong, why didn't the magical beast Ji Zun fuse with it? Lu Chen suddenly asked. It can't fuse with it, the nine-headed dragon said. In fact, as long as it's a dragon god's blood, it can't fuse with a new dragon god's blood. Our bloodline also comes from the dragon god, but it's too mixed. It's hard to maintain its original purity. If it fuses with this drop of pure dragon god's blood, it will clash with each other and explode. Why did you give such an important thing to me? Lu Chen didn't believe it. It was understandable if they casually gave him other treasures, but taking out the dragon god's blood was really a little illogical. To be honest, Origin God, this is not our wish. The dragon god once left behind a last wish, to leave the dragon god's blood to the strongest person in the fifth heaven. No matter if it's a friend or a foe, it can't be treated differently. And you are worthy of the 3 words strongest person. Chapter 897. After obtaining the 7 beasts' soul contracts and the dragon blood crystal from the magic beast nest, Lu Chen temporarily left the nest. He still didn't quite believe the magic beast's words. Even if what they said was true, Lu Chen wouldn't merge the dragon blood in front of them. In the mountains of Buzhou country, a winding river converged into a huge lake. There was a house next to the lake. It should have been a hunter's home in the past, but the house was in a mess now. It looked like they had fled when the magic beasts invaded. Lu Chen was temporarily staying here. A few days ago, Shui Er sent a message saying that the 7 countries had readjusted their border deployment. Now, the territory that Lu Chen had set aside for the aboriginals was independent. Shuang Ling, the Saintess and the others led the aboriginals to build a simple border fortress. In addition, the news of the spirit vein mine had also spread. Now that the 7 countries were lacking in spirit stones, no one dared to have any ideas about this huge spirit stone mine. They only sent out envoys to discuss matters of purchase. It looked like the spirit vein mine hadn't started operating yet, so there was no need to worry about not being able to sell it. Lu Chen put away his fishing rod and looked at the fish basket. It was another full day of harvest. Looking at the lake in front of him, Lu Chen looked pensive. Little guy, I won't be staying in the 5th layer of heaven for long. If you don't appear soon, we won't even have a chance to say goodbye. Saying this, Lu Chen shook his head and carried the bamboo basket home. Back at the residence, Lu Yi and Xiao Min cleaned up the house. Although the small mud house was clean, it was still very cozy. Lu Yi cooked a few dishes. There were bowls and chopsticks on the table. Only Lu Chen's main dish was left. As a 9-star chef, Lu Chen quickly cooked the black-scaled fish and brought the dishes to the table. Rhubarb, Little Furball and Little Critter went out to play. Lu Chen was too lazy to call them. After all, they wouldn't come back even if he called them. At this moment, the fence in front of the courtyard was pushed open, and a man walked into the courtyard with a smile. I say, Lu Chen, your life is getting more and more comfortable. So many dishes. Lu Chen looked up curiously, but when he saw this person, Lu Chen was stunned. Mountain people. The person was wearing a bamboo hat, but Lu Chen recognized him at a glance. Although they hadn't seen each other for a long time, Lu Chen felt that the mountain man had always been by his side. On the eve of the decisive battle between the fourth layer of heaven and the moon nether glow, it was the people in the mountains who asked Lu Chen to go to the Stardust Waterfall to cultivate and comprehend the spirit chi subtlety. The mountain man took off his bamboo hat, put it on the table, and sat down without hesitation. Come, come, come. I'll try your cooking and see if it's good enough for the wine I brought. Lu Chen smiled, put a plate of fish on the table, and sat down as well. The mountain man put a piece of fish into his mouth, shook his head, and tasted it. Suddenly, his eyes widened. The fish is fine but not mushy. The soup is just right. It's really good. Where's the wine? Lu Chen smiled. You're really thinking about my wine. Let me tell you, this wine is called Drunken Immortal. 1 cup costs 100 spiritual energy. 1 pot costs 1,000,000 spiritual stones. The mountain man said smugly. 1 cup costs 100 spiritual energy? Lu Chen frowned slightly, then said, Wait for me. He ran out of the room and took out 2 big bowls, placing them in front of the mountain man and himself. A rough person like me doesn't drink from cups. Use these. Fill them up. Looking at the 2 big bowls, which were like small basins, the mountain man's hand that was holding the wine pot trembled. You're using these to drink such good wine? My pot isn't even enough to fill your basin. Even wool needs to be cleaned slowly. You're going to be bald in one go. Lu Chen didn't say anything. He just held the bowl and waited. That jug should have at least 2,000 spiritual energy. Hey you. I'm here to see you. I have to pay for my own travel expenses, and I have to pay a few million spiritual stones. The mountain man glared at Lu Chen, took out another pot, and filled both their bowls. I'm telling you, drink slowly. It's really expensive. The mountain man was losing money the moment they met. Why didn't you fuse with your dragon blood? The mountain man asked casually. Are you afraid they're lying to you? Lu Chen picked up some food. This thing looks quite strange. You said I killed their boss, but they still gave me dragon blood. I felt a little guilty accepting it. Kid, there's a reason why you're still alive. It's better to be safe than sorry. However, they didn't lie to you. That is indeed the blood of the dragon god. It's just that this drop of dragon blood exists in the form of a crystal and is extremely concentrated. With your current body, I'm afraid you won't be able to handle it. Lu Chen frowned slightly. Then when will I be able to fuse with it? The strength of a demonic beast's body surpasses spiritual energy by at least 7 to 8 times. After you've been strengthened by the origin crystal, you can reach 15 times. Logically speaking, as long as you reach Theo the Great's level, you can attempt to fuse with it. However, your body is damaged. Even with the addition of the All Things bloodline, you'll need to reach at least the human king realm. Oh, I forgot you're an unorthodox cultivator. You haven't even recognized all the realms. After Theo the Great is the human king realm. Human king realm cultivators can't rely on attributes to reach that level. They must have at least a 3rd level intent realm to qualify as a king among men. Lu Chen unconsciously put down his chopsticks. Intent realm? Spiritual essence, anatta, and genesis are all already there. However, they're too low. For a supreme demonic beast, they may be unbreakable move. However, you should also understand that if you meet a true powerhouse, breaking your genesis is as simple as breaking the resonance of stars. After saying this, the mountain man took out 2 tokens, placed them on the table, and pushed them in front of Lu Chen. Lu Chen picked up the tokens and looked up. What is it? Sixth heaven's entrance tokens for the two great academies. When the time comes, you can choose one. I can give you the token, but I can't tell you the specific differences. Lu Chen nodded. After all, it was something from the sixth heaven. Even the mountain man couldn't reveal it. Since the mountain man gave it to him, it must be useful. Lu Chen carefully put away the two tokens and didn't ask more about the sixth heaven. However, the mountain man reminded him, "Kid, at the sixth heaven, you need to restrain yourself a little. You don't have much time. The opportunities and challenges in the sixth heaven are incomparable to those in the fifth heaven." Lu Chen secretly noted it down. After 30 days, Lu Chen forced the mountain man to take out 2 pots of drunken immortals. Now, he had 4,000 spiritual energy points. Well, I should go. If I stay any longer, I'm afraid I'll go bankrupt. The mountain man stood up shakily. Sure enough, even immortals would get drunk after drinking this wine. Before leaving, the mountain man turned back and said, "Oh, you're still waiting for the little golden carp. It has already gone to the sixth heaven. You have a good fate with it. Make good use of it." "Hey, when will you come and drink with me again?" "I'll come again after I finish a year's work." In the blink of an eye, the mountain man had disappeared. Only Lu Chen was left at the table. He knew that the mountain man came this time not only to give him the tokens, but also to urge him. Going to the sixth heaven earlier seemed to be the fastest way to become stronger. Chapter 898. Earth. The video of Mad God's final battle had been sent back, and it had quickly become a hot topic on the internet. The number of views on various major websites had been at the top of the list for several months. This is a real battle. Does this mean that Mad God is already so strong in reality? Mad God is too awesome. He killed the Warcraft 4 Heavenly Kings and Warcraft King in second. He alone deterred millions of Warcraft army. I can only say that we are lucky to have Mad God. Now, I am more and more confident about exploring Jiutian. People were more and more admiring of Solipsistic, regardless of nationality or race. At the same time, after witnessing Solipsistic's incredible combat power, almost everyone's desire to improve their strength became stronger and stronger. At this time, the Earth United Front Alliance was holding an emergency meeting. The Level 5 powerhouses had already reported the matter of the Origin God Mine. Now, a gold mine was right in front of the people of Earth. This was extremely important for Earth. The guide plan has now shown its effect. Now we need to send more people to the Level 5 to start mining the Origin God Mine. Especially the Talisman Masters. We have already contacted Dongyue country. As long as we have enough Talisman Masters to go to the Level 5, they will send people to guide us on how to make the extraction scroll. That's great. We finally have resources that belong to us. With the mine, our development will be dozens of times faster than now. By the way, Mr. Lu's personal safety must be ensured. The representative of the United States emphasized. His proposal was quickly approved by the representatives of other countries. Yes, Mr. Lu is the guide of the entire Earth. Without him, we would not have reached this point. His personal safety must be prioritized over all other standards. The representative of Huaxia's military, the Great Wall of Iron and Blood, frowned. They had never neglected Lu Chen's safety. The residential area where Lu Chen lived was now almost a military base. What kind of concept was that? Hundreds of thousands of the best soldiers were protecting his safety at all times. However, the representatives of the various countries brought it up again. It was not a cliché. Almost no one on Earth could threaten Lu Chen's safety, but Jiutian could. The Level 5 could allow interstellar travel. Currently, players were unable to check the coordinates of their own world. Unless they personally brought people in, they did not have to worry about others knowing the coordinates of Earth. However, everyone knew that Lu Chen would definitely go to the sixth heaven. One heavenly domain, one heavenly layer. Who knew what the sixth heavenly layer was like? What would happen if he destroyed Lu Chen's gaming cabin? This should be what they were worried about. We are already strengthening our defenses. We will protect him at all costs. At the same time, we also hope that other countries can contribute advanced weapon systems to help us protect Mad God. We will not shirk our duty. After a month of leisure in Buzhou, the natives and the regional countries were developing steadily. The first transaction of the mine had been completed. Naturally, it was sold to the Eastern Peak Nation. Considering the relationship between the Jade Emperor and Lu Chen, as well as the Eastern Peak Nation's protection, the price was set according to the original price. But only the Eastern Peak Nation had this kind of treatment. The prices of the other 6 nations had been raised to 8 times the previous price. According to this situation, the Eastern Peak Nation would develop faster than the other 6 nations in the future. This was what Lu Chen wanted to see. When the Eastern Peak Nation became stronger, it could help the natives pass the initial stage. It's almost time to go. Lu Chen put away his fishing rod. Little Green, Xiaomin, pack up and get ready to go. Little Beast God had grown a lot after swallowing the 5 beast cores. Now, he looked like a teenager of 13 or 14 years old. He liked to wear white clothes. No one knew who he learned it from. Anyway, it did not look like Lu Chen's style at all. He helped Louis and Xiaomin pack up. Little Furball, Rhubarb, and Little Originator did not know how to help at all. They were running around the yard. "Boss, where are we going?" Louis asked while packing up the herbs. "Tower of Babel." As soon as Lu Chen finished speaking, the 3 little guys immediately rushed to Lu Chen's side like a swarm of bees, eager to give it a try. Lu Chen smiled. "I know you're bored. It's time to go to the 6th heaven." Half a month later, Lu Chen stopped in front of a huge tower that towered into the clouds. There seemed to be a faint sound coming from the Tower of Babel. Gradually, the faint sound became a loud rumble. It seemed that the guy inside also felt Lu Chen's arrival and began to be impatient. The corner of Lu Chen's mouth slightly raised. "Are you also waiting anxiously?" "Don't worry, I'm coming." After that, Lu Chen stepped into the Tower of Babel. This was already the 5th floor of the Tower of Babel that Lu Chen had entered. The space here was far more spacious than the previous 4 floors. It was more like a starry sky than a floor of the tower. The surroundings were dark. The surrounding starlight allowed Lu Chen to see the surroundings, but he couldn't see the walls or the ground. In front, there was an area that was especially dark. It was as if light couldn't travel here. It was like a black hole in the universe. Suddenly, the black hole opened its eyes. A pair of huge green eyes turned towards Lu Chen's direction. Then it stood up. It turned out that it wasn't a black hole, but its body. Because it was nestled there before, it looked like a black hole. Lu Chen narrowed his eyes. Was this Heaven Domain boss a black dragon? However, on the other side, there was another area hidden in the starry sky that was changing. Heaven's Eye. Lu Chen directly opened his Heaven's Eye. With this look, Lu Chen realized that there were a total of 4 giant beasts here. After seeing the 4 giant beasts clearly, Lu Chen's eyes were full of shock. Forget about the other 3, but one of them was the supreme beast that Lu Chen killed before, Winged Dragon. This is the winged dragon that I killed? Why is it here? Lu Chen's mind was in a mess. At this moment, a figure slowly walked out from behind the black dragon. Lu Chen could see that his body was emitting a terrifying spiritual energy. He didn't seem to be a real human, but just an illusion. "Solipsistic, you're finally here." "That's right, it's the winged dragon that you killed, but it's now my puppet." That person smiled. "And these 3, Green Ancestral Dragon, Torch Dragon Demon Monarch, Ancient Kuei Cow King. You should have seen them in the murals of the Beast Clan. They were all supreme beasts of the past." That person's tone was calm and his expression was relaxed. The traditions of the Beast Clan were set by me. As for the purpose, you should already know by now. That person walked towards Lu Chen with a smile on his face. You think everything is over? Ha ha ha, you're so naive that it's a little cute. You think the prophecies of the oracle are all groundless? The fifth heaven's tribulation has been resolved, but your knot hasn't. So, the game has just begun. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.